Eldomia barely arrives at the noble estate when suddenly someone throws open his carriage doors. A young bratty noble lady called Cheryl takes one look at him and decides a scrub like him has no business breathing the same air as her, unless he throws hands to prove his worth. She calls him a trash commoner and forces him into a duel, but our boy is more than willing to put this insolent kid in her place. As soon as the match begins, the arrogant brat full sends the first attack, charging at top speed until their swords make first contact. She actually thinks she has the upper hand, when in reality, Eldomia isn't even trying. Dude is basically running on autopilot. In response to her try-hard assault, Bro Dog walks her efforts by barely swinging his sword and completely disarming her, ready to pack her up with the next attack. And the moment his sword almost reaches her, he stops, leaving her startled that she's still alive. So, why is this simple boy so much stronger than the nobles? Here's how his story started. Agwin village is in chaos. A gang is tearing through the streets looking for an elf, roughing up anyone who won't talk until Eldomia steps in. He's not doing it out of the goodness of his heart. His first order of business is demanding the location of their captain so he can deal with all of them at once. The grunt thinks that's funny, right up until he gets dropped with a single punch. Eldomia crouches down and informs the unconscious man that he's pathetic and that things will get considerably worse if he doesn't cooperate. He finds the base shortly after and kicks the door open. Sigmal's crew exchanges glances, already embarrassed that one of their own lost to a kid. Eldomia looks around and asks if they're the ones causing trouble over an elf. Their leader decides this is a good moment to talk about how much he's going to enjoy torturing her before selling her off. Eldomia determines that further conversation would be a waste of everyone's time. He happily closes the door first, protecting them from the humiliation ritual they're about to experience. He draws his sword, then bends the blade with his bare hands to seal off the exit. When he introduces himself by name, the kids collectively lose their nerves. A few of them still convince themselves the sword isn't real and decide to rush him away. Eldomia blitzes past the group and puts the captain down with one punch, declaring that they shouldn't fuck around with him or they'll definitely find out. Back home, his sister Acelia gets the full story from him. He's 11 and already arguing that he had every right to defend her behind her back. Acelia asks why he took so long because a few thugs shouldn't have kept him that late. He explains that after the fight, he looked through the group and found a handful of kids with nowhere to go. He didn't feel right just walking away, so he spent the time finding them somewhere to stay. He invited someone just like his sister to call home. She rushes to embrace him tightly for what he did, even though it's only been 3 years since they found each other. Neither of them could have predicted any of this. Eldomia thinks about what his life would look like if their paths had never crossed. His memory drifts back to the day they did, when he was just a boy who had lost everything. The Acelia of that time pedaled as fast as her feet could take her, escaping her captors. The thugs chasing after her were furious in their pursuit, causing wreckage, knowing that they couldn't lose a valuable asset. Their leader demanded his men to chase after her no matter what. They even robbed the people around them, stealing necklaces, believing that it'll be no use to the dead in the afterlife. Brothers playing finders keepers. Anyway, finding Acelia became a problem since they track her down. She's actually a mage too, but the boss made sure to put a restraint collar to limit her magic abilities, limiting her options to escape in the process. Acelia panted in worry, knowing that she had to hide quickly, or else her captors would reach her soon. She found herself dashing into another house, realizing that the thugs hadn't noticed just yet. While she was contemplating her options to escape, a younger Eldomia found her in shock. At the same time, the boss was getting desperate being unable to find her, so he used a last-minute measure to activate her shock collar. The collar caused her intense electrifying pain, making her scream and reveal her location. Now that they knew the house she was in, they quickly dashed in, taunting her for making them go through all this trouble for nothing. They'd caught their precious merchandise, and it was only time to steal everything from the shabby village before leaving. Despite her own capture, Acelia felt worried for the boy, because just before these thugs found her location, she had Eldomia in a hurry. Suddenly the thugs heard another sound coming from the same house in which they captured the elf. A tiny brat came waltzing out with a sword in his hand. The look on his face showed fear and concern, while Acelia is out here realizing the smooth-brained midget dashed all her efforts to save his life. This was good news to the thugs, because now they'd discovered another survivor in the village that was once raided by the Demon King's army. The boss thought it would be best to seize the boy and sell him off the same, so he sent one of his goons to collect him with a sword in hand. Random goon instructed the boy to follow orders quietly and come with them, but instead of caring about his own well-being, the boy's face showed horror as he yelped the desire to see his parents. The gang threw up in a laugh, berating the boy for being so stupid, and in order to refresh his memory, they explained the horrific events that happened. You see, this whole village was fucking massacred by the Demon King's army. Every single person residing in it died, except the blue-haired boy standing before them. For Eldomia, who was just a little kid, he felt shocked. He couldn't fathom the idea of actually having lost his parents, and in order to vent his frustration, the little boy ferociously swung his sword in an upward slash, cutting the man's throat in the process. The turns have been tabled. These goons thought they had the upper hand until one of their own got one-shot by an 8-year-old brat. The boss told his men to quickly pull out their weapons as they were about to jump this kid's ass. Interestingly, the same boy appeared to lose his strength and couldn't even lift his sword right. In fact, the weapon seemed to be moving on its own. The thugs observed with confusion taking over their faces. They couldn't believe that a little brat could attain such a level of sword strength. This then begged the question if Eldomia had some kind of special magic sword, one that was possibly left behind by the Demon King's army. Sure, they may have lost one member of their crew, but these greedy little shits wanted the magic sword now. Running a sword against the neck of his own men, the leader ordered one of them to go and retrieve the sword, because it was probably the reason the midget seemed so powerful. Running away wasn't going to be an option. That was the reality for these bandits, who had to force themselves to confront Eldomia at the same time. While these grown-ass men charged at one child, the mage elf worriedly shouted at the boy to just run. Their own confidence in this fight is their undoing, because Eldomia himself reflects that the moment he grabs the sword is the same moment he would win the fight. He proves this by making a Kit Kat out of this one guy, making me believe that Eldomia is secretly a Sukuna fanboy. The boy's body is coated with blue aura, and he entered a berserk-focused state, making the leader question his own command from earlier. The boy's magic sword melted through the flesh of those men like they were jelly. Observing this whole spectacle take place from a distance, the mage elf was the first to realize that it's not actually about the magic sword. To make the situation complicated for Eldomia, the leader of the thugs decided to pull a sword against the blonde elf's neck, threatening to cut it straight off if he dared to take another step. Asalai panicked, advising the boy not to listen to the man, but was soon quieted. The leader never had any plans to kill her in the first place. He's never going to damage his valuable merchandise. His only goal is to steal the magic sword and then cut down the boy himself. It's the perfect situation in his eyes, but Eldomia doesn't seem to respond to a single one of his provocations. The boy pulls his sword back before throwing it up full speed, distracting the leader. Out of greed and desperation, the man released Acilia and dashed his way to acquire his brilliant magic sword. The idiot thought that the kid made a terrible choice, and now that he was inches away from having the blade, he would win. One small problem: Eldomia popped up behind his ass like a landowner whose rent is due, and before the peanut-brained leader could even figure out that the sword was a normal weapon, he was cut down and defeated. The fight was now over. Eldomia had exhausted himself, shouting his frustrations at the world for nearly dying in this fight against the bandits. His village was raided by the Demon King's army, and he lost everything while just being 8 years old. Having observed the whole fight, Acilia pondered how the boy tricked all the bandits through his overpowering brute strength. This gave the impression that he was using a magic sword. Then the same boy used his excellent battle IQ to trick his enemies and gain the upper hand by taking another sword from one of the dead bandits. This kind of judgment and strength is unheard of for a boy this age, sparking Acilia's curiosity about him all the more. The mage elf curiously asked why he saved her life. Eldomia explained that he never had the intention. He was just protecting his hometown. He couldn't let his village be tainted by the mess created through these bandits. Also, the boy knew that she was a mage. He overheard the bandits' conversation. Acilia confirms Eldomia's suspicions, which makes him think that maybe God is actually real. Since fate had them cross paths, the boy offered her the magic globe used to control her powers. Eldomia wanted to strike a deal with her, that if he set her free, then for 8 years she would stay with him until he became older. The boy had nothing to rely on. This village wasn't the home he once knew, and winter was right around the corner. Possessing a strong will to survive, Eldomia declared his desire to live no matter the suffering inflicted upon him, and that's some motivation for the day right there. Let's return to the present, where our boy was spacing out for a moment. His friend yanked him out of the daydream, having learned that the midgets squabbled in a fight against a bunch of orphans. Eldomia is surprised that bro learned that so fast. He explains that the kids were a bunch of harmless thugs, but eventually created so many problems for their village once their numbers grew. That's why they had to be taken down. His buddy praises him for his good deeds, knowing that he had just made the lives of the villagers so much easier with his actions. As a thank you gift, the guy offers him an apple. The funniest part is that Apple Stealer 69 stole it from the shopkeeper just behind him while acting cool in front of Eldomia. Watching their banter makes the boy smile, but things get serious when one of the orphans quickly rushes to find Eldomia. Recognizing him from earlier, our boy asks him what happened, only to learn a bunch of suspicious people came to kidnap them. Eldomia is appalled. The moment he secures his peaceful life, something always happens and he loses it again. Even if he wanted to forget the trauma he experienced, the reality of the weak is that they lose everything precious to them. 3 years ago, Ogwin Village became the boy's new home, while his sister Acelia became the most precious person in the world. Filled with the anger of having lost so much, Eldomia's blood boils at the thought of losing Acelia, so he asks to be taken to the scene. Arriving on the troublesome scene, we have a girl cornered by a bunch of Andrew Tate fans. She asks them why they're doing this, but they tell her it's irrelevant because she's obviously a woman and she should shut her mouth. You get the idea. One cloaked figure among them is confused if this is the woman they're looking for. He doesn't sense any dignity from her mannerisms, making him question if they've got the wrong person, but apparently she's the correct target befitting the conditions of their master. Red hair with 16 years old. From one look, the girl understands that these guys are not your average kidnappers, while the cloaked figure assures them that he'll reward them handsomely once she's taken away. To make things quick, they grab her wrist in an effort to yank her forcibly when suddenly Bro gets decked in the back by Eldomia's kick. The look on the cloaked dude's face is priceless, while the girl sparkles with a happy expression realizing that her savior has come. Both Eldomia and the kidnapper question why the other person is here, but our boy's feeling all the rage, taunting the kidnapper. The shrouded figure has no idea what this boy's deal is. He wasn't even briefed about a guard from the information he was provided. Ready to kick some ass? Eldomia taunts the kidnappers for coming all the way to this village just to kidnap someone while he's there. The idiots charge at him like a bunch of clowns thinking he's any ordinary kid. They get smoked in mere moments. Eldomia understands that these guys definitely don't live in the same village, or else they'd know about him. The one he's curious about the most is the hooded bastard in the corner, who thinks it was a foolish idea to use thugs for his kidnapping mission. Eldomia taunts the scumbag for laying a finger on the girl, which is like picking a fight against him too. The hooded freak is already tired of this kid's endless yapping and demands that he get out of the way. Eldomia playfully retorts that he'll need to be taken out for that to happen. To humble the cut, the cloaked figure speedily takes out his blade and lunges at the boy, barely grazing past the kid's shoulder. That attack just now was meant to kill Eldomia, and yet the boy dodged his blade. And now for a little return present, the boy loads his fist and quickly throws a gust of sand in his face, talking about having an amazing battle IQ. Having distracted the hooded guy, he successfully connects a brutal shit-eating kick to the face, humbling this guy by sending him crashing on the ground. Even though Eldomia finds the guy's swordplay unusual, he's still not impressed by his skills, and offers the dude a chance to explain his backstory. The hooded freak takes this as condescension. I mean, bro is practically being trash-talked by a little boy, so it's like that feeling you have when you're playing an online game and a little kid beats your ass. The guy's about to crash out, when suddenly, the girl from earlier brings more of her friends to provide support to Eldomia in this battle. Realizing that there are way too many witnesses in the area, the guy decides to escape the generational aura loss by using a smoke bomb. Eldomia didn't expect him to pull that one, having lost him in that mere moment of escape. The same can't be said for the thugs that were abandoned, and let's just say our boy plans to be really rough with them if they don't start talking fast. Avoiding another beatdown, both thugs quickly submit in fear, pleading for mercy. They had no idea what they were getting involved in either, and the only instructions they received were to lure the red-haired girl into the forest. A sudden mention of a noble confuses our boy, so the thug explains with his swollen mouth, revealing this rumor that a lady from a destroyed noble family in the war managed to survive. Since the family was wealthy, the goal was to capture her for a big reward. Eldomia doesn't really care to address such rumors. All he cares about is the identity of the hooded guy. But apparently these smooth-brained idiots don't know either. They never asked and got dragged in. Eldomia believes their words but still decides to tie them up, refusing to let these clowns run free after what they did. Next he comes up to the girl, asking if she's alright. She was saved thanks to Eldomia's help, not knowing that she would be jumped by kidnappers out of the blue. To take her to safety, he grabs her and returns to the inn for some rest, knowing that the village is becoming dangerous lately. Arriving at the inn, Our boy is confused at the mere sight of the inn. He hadn't been to Alicia's inn for a long while, and it seems like the whole place has changed. Some of the friends ask Revi if she's doing okay after the kidnapping incident. One little boy begs Revi to lend them a hand as they're short-staffed for the day. She reads the report and tasks them to assign the kids from tomorrow's shift for the work, impressing our boy with her quick managerial skills. We meet the innkeeper Alicia, who looks like she gives the warmest hugs. The motherly innkeeper asks the kids if they dabbled in some trouble again, even though Eldomia had only just brought the orphans the other day. Our boy is truly impressed that Alicia managed to make the kids work and liven up the state of the inn, but surprisingly, the innkeeper reveals that she didn't do anything at all. The person responsible for those changes is actually Revi herself. Alicia just wanted the inn to be successful, so Revi took all the pressure on her head and made everyone work hard. She had to learn the language too by asking for help from the priests, which shows that the girl is a pretty fast learner. Not only that, she also managed to update the ledger and menu, showing her expertise in several areas. This is fascinating to the boy, who questions Alicia if Revi can read and write, which comes across as a curious question to the innkeeper, because it's true that someone who is Revi's age couldn't do that. Though Eldomia's writing is perfect, Revi is no different. Even her control over grammar is excellent, better than an adult. Connecting all the dots, Eldomia remembers what the thug told him about the noble house, so he goes up and grabs Revi by the shoulder, asking if she has any idea about the cloaked figure she saw back there. Flustered, she begs him to let go of her already, but he forces his hand by grabbing Revi to another room. Being manhandled like that is pumping her blood like crazy. She's out here getting swooned, remembering how cool Eldomia looked back there in the fight. The girl is out here developing a crush on Bro, thinking that they're about to do the birds and the bees. She even flusters at the thought. Unfortunately, instead of getting laid, Eldomia suffers from the dense protagonist syndrome that the Manhwa gods curse every protagonist with. He doesn't know a thing she's talking about, but thinks it's a good idea to pin her and ask if she's the noble lady the thugs were after. Since the redhead is confused, Eldomia explains what the thugs told him about this secret daughter of a noble house that fell in the war. From the way she reacts, it's easy to tell Revi is hiding something, as she stutters in her words. Eldomia assures her that he's clear of the evidence. The way she handles business so perfectly in the inn is one other example of her perfection. An orphan couldn't have learned all those skills on her own, which means Revi must have received some kind of high-level education elsewhere. She still tries to fight for her case and acts like there's a misunderstanding, but the boy understands she has her own reasons. Still, he wants to hear it from her own mouth. If they left on this note, things would become more complicated later on if she's attacked again. Feeling hesitant, the girl refuses to talk about the matter for now. Eldomia understands that he's pushing her too far, though he's got no intentions of letting those bastards roam free. She asks about his plans. Apparently our boy intends to track down the hoodie guy from earlier, knowing he came from the forest. The goal? Bro's about to go out there and solo wipe the whole base by himself. Revi is terrified of this plan, but our boy continues to taunt her, explaining how he can't ask the guards for any help because she still wants to keep her identity a secret. The problem is, even Revi knows that the people from back then are on a completely different level. That hooded guy alone was threatening enough, so it won't be as easy for our boy to finish them like he always does. Despite the fact that they're a bunch of underground assassins, our boy refuses to turn a blind eye. He can't forgive the ones who tried to kidnap a child in broad daylight. The village is his new home, and he intends to keep his family safe. Revi genuinely feels sad that he has to put himself at risk because of her. Eldomia acutely bonks her head with his scabbard, assuring her that she shouldn't apologize or blame herself. The ones who tried to kidnap her are the real culprits, not her. Revi smiles with his comforting assurance, while our boy promises her that he'll take care of the whole group all alone, as he's far stronger than he lets on. We cut to nightfall in the forest. The group who failed to kidnap Revi is busy receiving a scolding from the hooded man. All of their plans went to shit just because one boy intervened, but the good thing is that the thugs at least managed to confirm the identity of the girl, making the mission a success. Still, the cloaked dude's got a lot of temper and wants to even the score with the child. Gro just can't forget the humiliation he suffered back there against the midget. At the same time, they can't make any reckless moves. Their main leader Delta strictly told them to remain on standby. Acting recklessly will mess up the whole plan again. This dude with the fragile ego can't take it. He's pissed that a mere thug is lecturing him about their plans. While he's whining like a bitch, suddenly the whole group is startled by the noise nearby. Drawing each of their weapons, they look around for the source of the noise. However, there isn't anything or anyone making them believe it was probably an animal. The big question is why an animal would even approach a campfire to begin with. And before they could check a second time, the animal in question comes with a really sharp sword and makes an Eren Yeager out of the first guy. With one down, the other dude is horrified. Eldomia glares back at the hooded figure, communicating just through his eyes that bro's gonna fuck them up this time. Cloak Freak orders his men to go and hunt the boy down fast. Each of them lunge full speed. The first slash is beautifully evaded by Eldomia, who retaliates with a single efficient slice to the neck, killing the man immediately. The same goes for the other two. Just one cut is all it takes to take them all down. What I really like about the way this kid fights is that he's got the look of anger on his face. I mean, bro's eyes are screaming his rage right now as he blitzes past the forces. Eldomia goes up to confront a few more thugs. He charges his blade and blitzes through them with the quickest cut ever. Bro's nickname must be Headhunter 9000 because holy kill streak. I mean, just look at the Cloak Freak's shit face right now. Dude is going through it. Eldomia rubs salt on the wound by mocking the man for running away from a child. The assassin roars at him not to get cocky, that he'll make sure the boy is incapable of ever speaking again. Their fight starts off with an overpowering clash. Meeting the boy's blade for the first time makes the assassin realize one critical flaw. He never accounted for the kid's magic power. Time for a little backstory. The people in this world use magic to activate abilities, but they're not like demons or dragons, so they can't use raw magic in its true essence. Mages only refine raw magic into mana first before using it on fancy spells, while knights refine it to convert into aura and strengthen attacks. The assassin, who is struggling to block each sword swing, is questioning how a literal child is capable of pulling something beyond his level. Here's why Eldomia is literally built differently. This guy is the only person in the world who can use magic in its rawest form without the need to refine, and that's why he's a god, as he casually cuts off the assassin's sword before rendering a few slashes and defeating him instantly. Hearing that this guy might run away, Eldomia didn't have high expectations, but bro managed to actually eat that attack without running away. Still, it doesn't matter to our boy who specifically left one of these clowns alive just so that he could extract a bunch of answers from them. Grabbing him by the collar, Eldomia plays the bad cop and threatens that he will cause much suffering if this dude doesn't cooperate. But right in the middle of his interrogation, a gigantic dragon pounces out of nowhere, nearly biting bro's legs straight off. Eldomia didn't anticipate the timing of this beast, and used the hilt of his sword to smack the dragon across its face. Upon a second glance, he realizes that it's actually a wyvern, and though he's heard of them before, it's the first time running into one. Apparently wyverns are considered the fastest method of transport, but the maintenance costs they have are insane. In other words, whoever is this group's leader isn't just your average thug. He must be a big shot. But then Eldomia notices another carriage in the distance. Hacking a sword right next to the guy's face, our boy roars that he knows there's another wyvern hidden somewhere, and if this dude doesn't speak up right now, the next throw will be aimed at his head. Terrified, the guy explains that their leader, a knight called Delta, took the beast. This confirms that they'd already suspected the boy's arrival, so they outplayed him in strategy alone. Using the subordinates as bait, Delta escaped with ease. As for Revi, she's the real target, and Delta has already successfully kidnapped her. A perfect setup with a perfect execution. The girl opens her eyes and realizes that they're cutting past the skies. The sight of a wyvern haunts her, while Delta explains they're headed to a place that will befit her noble rank. Revi is appalled that a knight of the kingdom would end up stooping so low, but this guy's ruthless, and intends to use any means necessary just to retrieve the noble lady. He also understands that she's smart and threatens her to stay still, or else he'll chuck her straight down from this height. Revi retaliates, stating that the people from the village will come look for her, but Delta clarifies that they'll never be able to reach them, not at this height. He promises the girl that there won't be anyone left in that village alive. The thought of losing them haunts Revi, while the Wyvern Knight explains they'll create several obstacles just to find the perfect excuses to kill them all, removing all loose ends in the process. Out of desperation, she chants that Eldomia will come to rescue her, but Delta assures her that it won't be happening. He's kept fleets of his men stationed at the forest, who are powerful enough to kill the boy. At the end of the day, Eldomia is just a child and will be overpowered. This instills even more fear and regret into Revi, who blames herself for not stopping him sooner. The Wyvern Knight explains that she'll be forgetting about her past connections once she's at the capital. They will just be a bunch of commoners in the past. While Bro is out here acting like the mastermind, a light in the sky cuts straight down with Eldomia arriving out of nowhere. Not even Delta predicted this turn of events, as the boy's sword accurately stabs the wyvern's head. The knight is frightened as to how a boy could outsmart him by going so far up in the sky. But then there's the realization that this same kid slaughtered a wyvern with ease. Leaping from his position, Eldomia goes up to clash his swords against the knight, but is repelled back because this isn't the average opponent. You're out here having a literal sword fight in the freaking sky while the dragon is falling. Imagine having that much beef against someone in your life. Delta is slowly realizing that this kid is special. The fact that the kid is going so far just to save Revi, Delta tries his best to push the boy back, and realizes fast that Eldomia must have used a creature similar to them like a wyvern. In other words, he got betrayed by one of his own. That aside, the wyvern knight refuses to be treated like a weakling like his subordinates. He locks the fudge in and delivers a flurry of sharp slashes, overwhelming our boy beyond what he could take. Delta praises the child for using strategy to catch him off guard, understanding that the goal is to escape while creating a distraction. However, thanks to his superior combat experience, the wyvern knight believes he's got the edge in this battle. Both of them charge at each other, challenging the other head-on. Delta is arrogant and goes for a neck slash, which honestly looks really bad and makes you think our boy's cooked. Strangely, a bright flash of light illuminates, blinding Delta thanks to the piercing sunlight. Delta's battle IQ is so insane that bro calculated an opening specifically to use the rays of sunlight from behind. Thanks to that small distraction, the boy overcame the difference between their strengths and slaughtered the knight. One problem still remains. They're falling at an insane speed. Our boy catches the young lady and drops down on the other wyvern from which he came from. The plan has been a success, and the accomplice has done his part for a reward to be freed of his crimes. Revi is happy that things worked out, but there's one problem. That little slash back there, Delta managed to use a counterattack at the last moment, cutting our boy heavy across his abdomen. He can barely take a stand and faints from exhaustion as Revi worriedly shouts his name. In the next scene, bro wakes up in his bed. His sister is there sitting down next to the bed. She clutched his hand tight while they slept, staying by his side. Suddenly the elf awakens and quickly hugs her little brother, scolding her for making her worry so much. Our boy apologizes, but she just comforts him, glad to see that he's doing alright. She even mentions the red-haired girl, who came every single day to tend to his condition. Speaking of Revi, the redhead pops up at that exact moment in a cute outfit, and though it seems like the girl is about to hug him, she actually starts beating his ass for being knocked out for 3 whole days. And of course it's always 3 days of coma for every manhwa story. Anyway, their banter makes Asalai laugh. Eldomia spots her fancy little clothing and guesses that the noble lady ended up reuniting with her family. It actually seems like she's a proper noble now. Our boy suggests that she return to the place she truly belongs, but that's when the redhead grabs his hand, expressing that she has a request of her own. She wants Eldomia to come to the royal capital with her. Her request is sincere, but Eldomia passes on the offer, stating that he's got a personal goal of his own to fulfill so that he can get strong enough to challenge Goku. Even to that, Revi believes that his goal can be achieved by using the mastery of the royal knights to his advantage. Even then, the boy believes that Asilia is the best master he could ever ask for. She's an elven mage who is on a completely different level. This irks Revi quite a bit. She tries to persuade him by popping the idea of someone being out there even stronger than the elven mage. That idea is nice to think about, but Eldomia believes that no one that strong could ever waste their time trying to teach him. Speaking of such a person, a blonde Gigachad knight clad in gorgeous armor pops right behind him, questioning if the boy is so sure about his convictions. This man is so strong that Eldomia couldn't even sense the man's presence. Afraid that he's also here to take the noble lady, our boy jumps up to protect her. Revi laughs and seems casual about it. It's been a long time since she's met Sarakov. The blonde knight greets Lady Lagnus with a kind remark, before addressing her by her official title, the Shield of the Atijal Kingdom, Margrave Lagnus Leenda Revian. And my god, that name is a mouthful, so let's just stick to Revi. Our boy is having his little surprised Pikachu moment, realizing that this girl belongs to the Margrave family. Their territory was once overrun by the Demon King's army, but they're literally titanic compared to a tiny place like Ogwin Village. She's not just a noble lady, she's the elite among the elites from the Margrave family. No wonder the rumors about her were intense. And while Eldomia is processing those facts, the blonde knight greets the young boy, declaring that he must be the one who slayed the wyvern knight. The knight also knows that this kid is capable of using aura for his age. Eldomia is naturally at guard and takes a defensive tone, hollering at Sarakov to mind his own business. The kid is being bratty for a reason, It's because the so-called knight didn't even come to rescue Revi when she was actually kidnapped. The fact that they care about her while not even coming to rescue her bothers him. But that's where the redhead noble herself chimes in. She takes the fall. Eldomia learns that there's some political beef going on, and Sarakov taunts the kid for being an outsider who doesn't understand the way of their world. At the same time, he presents the boy with a proposal that if he chooses to become the disciple of the royal knight, things can change. The redhead thinks this is a pretty good proposal, so she brought her knight here knowing that Eldomia is interested in strength. This man is hailed as the third sword of the king, Sarakov Zin Agatolf. Let's not even start talking about his strength because bro's one of the strongest people in the capital and was a close aide with Revi's father at one point. He even came here to save her. Sarakov explains that he's done his background checks on the kid already. The boy cleared several thugs in the village, creating the image that he was easy to piss off. 3 years back, the boy lost his parents from a demon king's army raid, and the knight even knows that the boy is interested in getting stronger to get his revenge someday. The obsessive conviction he has, it's all rooted in the grief of losing his parents. Such confrontational words spiral rage in our boy, who leaps up to punch Sarakov, but despite his tremendous speed, the same speed that blitzes everyone else, his punch is casually caught. Sarakov argues that the boy should not let his emotions get the better of him. His forms are sloppy when he's easy to read. Refusing to stop, Eldomia crushes the knight's hand and tries to impress the great swordsman with a kick to the face. With a look of satisfaction, Eldomia is satisfied that he managed to land one attack. But even that sneak attack ends up easily caught, which goes to show just how much of a powerhouse this knight is. Sarakov is impressed with the boy's combat abilities and intends to train him, but seeing his attitude, it'll become really hard to coach him. Eldomia taunts the knight that he should have tried to save his lady himself if he was this strong from the start. In the boy's eyes, the knight is a failure, and instead of being defensive about it, Sarakov confirms that he failed to protect the young lady in time. In this world, there are so many people out there being threatened, crying out for help, but it's not like they can save them all. No one single-handedly saves everyone, but there is one thing that Sarakov absolutely desires to do. That's his goal of eradicating the Demon King's army, the only method to ensure everyone's safety. Sarakov explains that he needs many talented warriors by his side for this cause, just like Eldomia himself, and if he can nurture the boy to become stronger, he can become the kingdom's greatest swordsman. United they will topple the Demon King's army. I really like the direction of this teacher's disciple story, and in the end, Eldomia is convinced. He goes outside to meet with his sister. Asalai understands his decision. She knew from the day he met Ravi that he would leave, but she had no idea it would be soon. The boy is guilty about leaving his sister but still wants to become stronger. He's thankful for the years she gave him, while the elf turns around to meet him with a gorgeous embrace. She's not mad. She's genuinely happy and wants one last hug before they part. The brother-sister duo hug each other one last time before parting as Eldomia's story in Agwan comes to a close. The same day, they begin their travels by carriage. Interestingly, Ravi notices an earring around his ear. This is Asalai's one last gift, an elven ritual for the preservation of a promise. The redhead is flustered, wondering the kind of promise these two secretly made with each other, and to mess with her even more, our boy refuses to say a word. Seeing them leave, the elf mage smiles, seeing him off. In the next scene, we arrive at House Agatolf in the royal capital, where a young lady is pissed off that they brought someone as a disciple into their house. The girl crushes the note, annoyed just reading Eldomia's name, vowing to show him the terrifying might of the Agatolf family. On their way, the boy learns that the country is split between the royalists and the nobles. The nobles tried kidnapping her as the sole survivor of the Revian family. She had the right of succession, but not a single ounce of authority due to her young age. Firing her and then manipulating her could allow them to control the Revian family and its authority, making her act as a thorn against the royalists. This begs the question, why didn't she ask the royalists for help, since her own family is one, rather than hide in Agwan being an orphan? Apparently Revi has to be the center of her family's restoration mission, which is confusing. She talks about how a dramatic story is well received by the people. If she asked the royalists for help, she would have been classified as a pathetic survivor, and would never gain the trust of the public to rebuild her family. In other words, Revi is going in her own direction to create impact and persuade people. Because if she could grow up all on her own, and came up as the true successor, then the daughter of the Magrath family would be respected by all, taking her rightful position with loyalty to the kingdom. It's a convincing story that would refine the position of the royalist faction in the process, and gain more support from the ones who are currently siding with the noble houses. The idea is understandable, but it's reckless as hell in Eldomia's eyes. Instead, he thinks she should have let the royalists protect her. Even Sarakov chimes in to confirm that he thought the same, but the young lady ended up digging her own way, refusing to reveal her location until now. She wanted to prove herself by overcoming many hardships just to fit the title of a Margrave, but even then she thinks it's pointless as Eldomia became her savior. Eldomia is fine with that as long as she's alive. But that chit-chatter aside, they're almost there. The carriage stops right before the estate. For a boy who has only lived in villages so far, Eldomia finds the sight magnificent. Reveille asks for an update on Cheryl, who seems to be at her rebellious phase, having become more aggressive than ever. Speaking of which, Yuki Tsukumo from Jujutsu Kaisen pops the carriage door with the meanest side-eye glaring at the new kid. Eldomia doesn't know what her problem is and basically goes, "Who the fudge is you, bruh?" The girl explodes on Eldomia's face, while the knight urges her to at least greet the young lady. Hilariously, Cheryl goes super polite in greeting Lady Lagnus, and then goes back to yelling at Eldomia like he's some kind of scum of the earth. She wants an immediate duel with the boy right this moment. Eldomia is starting to understand what Sir Ekaf meant earlier now. The royal knight urges his new disciple to go along with the duel, believing that it will strengthen their bond together. Eldomia agrees to the 1v1. Bro's ready to throw hands after a boring long trip, vowing to take her on. In the next scene, we're in the estate grounds with both fighters in stance. The redhead worries that they should stop the fight. Sir Ekaf thinks it's necessary for children to grow through their bodies instead of words. Also, despite being super powerful, Bro doesn't want any beef with Cheryl when she's acting like this. She's the kind of person who sets her mind to something and goes to hell and back for it. The blonde initiates the first attack charging full speed. Their swords make first contact, and she starts yapping in Eldomia's face, roaring at him for insulting her father. Both are bratty as hell because even Eldomia talks smack and rips her confidence by sharing that her own father begged him to be a disciple. Breaking contact for a moment, the two fighters exchange quick slashes, deflecting each other perfectly. In a moment here, Eldomia is seemingly surprised, while Cheryl pulls an interesting technique to test his competence. Her elegant slash is reflexively evaded by Eldomia, which is exactly what she expected, forcing him to stoop down and attack from a downward position. This is the trap she set. Now Cheryl reverses her sword in an effort to cut him while he's off balance, but even then Eldomia properly responds with a swift block, creating an opening to thwart her sword away before she could even realize what happened. Cheryl is in shambles. She can't fathom how this kid managed to outdo her like that. It seems like Eldomia is about to hit her with the same pose an Asian mom pulls on you when you fail your math test. Luckily for this brat, our boy is actually pretty nice, and stops his blade right before making contact. He asks if she's happy now, pissing her off all the more because this is just humiliation times 100. Cheryl isn't satisfied that he isn't taking her seriously at all, but Eldomia clarifies that he never insulted her father. In fact, he doesn't want to be underestimated as he came here for the sole purpose of becoming stronger. Unfortunately, he won't be going away until he achieves his goal, so instead of beefing with the girl, Eldomia politely offers his hand to become friends. Their relationship seems to be sprouting beautifully until this bitch swats his hand and ruins everything, roaring that she'll force this loser to run back home to his shitty village in 3 days. Their banter provides entertainment to the spectators. Both of them are incredibly stubborn, while Eldomia declares that he'll become so much more stronger than her and shock everyone. Back in his room, Bro's doing clean push-ups, and throughout the day, he's trained by Sir Ekaf with dummies. There's also strength training like boulder pulling exercises, and that's how months began to pass. More and more duels between Cheryl and Eldomia took place. Winters came at last. The boy exposed himself to the icy cold, coating in his mana to withstand the harsh environment. Spring finally sprouted as an entire year passed. Eldomia's push-ups became so good he could do one-handed ones now. Cheryl barges the door open. This girl didn't even change a bit from her looks. They're late for their quest hunt. Eldomia tells her that he'll be out in a second, giving us a glance at his waterboard abs and chiseled physique, showing off the fruits of his training. Over to a different shabby old hideout, we get a bunch of goons loving the loot they're getting from the capital. Stealing from the rich is easy, and these chumps are hitting it big with every run. They'll soon leave the capital before the guild can even notice. Their boss looks like Aoi Toto's brother and intends to threaten the weaklings more so they can get even more money. While they're parading in their own madness bragging about their sins, Cheryl takes them by surprise, pulling her sword against the musclehead's neck. The leader is caught. His subordinates can't believe that someone managed to find their hideout. Cheryl finds them all disgusting and demands Eldomia to help cut them down. They ready their weapons waiting for him to just attack. But bro seems to be taking his sweet time. My guy is aura farming, casually looking down on his victims. Then he descends and without question starts chopping heads off. I like how bro doesn't have the no-kill rule. This man just cuts heads one after another, looking cold as hell with that hoodie on. One fatty tries to attack him. Eldomia kicks his face before cutting all the meat around his abdomen, making a shawarma out of him. The boss didn't even get the chance to get up from his seat. Bro was forced to witness all his men cut down Fruit Ninja style. He throws up his hands to surrender, pleading mercy, offering everything they've gathered. Eldomia grins with a scary smile, assuring him that he doesn't want to waste his energy killing trash like this guy. After all, they do need prisoners to return to the guild, so he'll take it easy. You guys might think that the leader is safe, but our boy is actually a psychopath. Instead of using his sword, he prefers the idea of making a punching bag out of this dude's face the old-fashioned way. That beatdown aside, we arrive at the Adventurers Guild in the royal capital. The bandit subjugation mission is completed, earning the duo a good sum. Eldomia suggests they head home for the day, but Cheryl is already busy eyeing down the details for tomorrow's quest. She usually takes requests on her days off from the academy. However, since she's got a break starting tomorrow, she has time to spare for another bandit subjugation mission. Eldomia remarks how many of these missions have been popping up lately. This one is actually a really massive quest. 60 people are required for the mission, and the first attempt already failed. The place is just alongside the vineyards leading to the west. A day's journey will take them just to get there. Eldomia doubts that Cheryl will get any permission from her pops. Bro was already on the fence about her quest missions in the first place. However, Cheryl planned for this, but somehow our guy doesn't have high expectations based on the plan she made last time. Observing their little discussion, a cloaked figure watches from the window, learning from the guild master that the boy only showed up a year ago. The same kid is an unstoppable force of nature who crushes everyone in his path, earning the boy the alias of the Mad Dog. Eldomia's skills are intriguing enough for the eyes of this cloaked person, who intends to find out more. 2 days passed, and we're at the location of the subjugation quest. There's a giant team of people here, but the client is nowhere to be found. They somehow managed to locate him. It's a guy sitting cross-armed, seeming grumpier than ever. Baron Papera doesn't seem to be having a nice day, and his background is that he actually bought his title with money, so bro must be filthy rich or something. One big guy decides to brief everyone on their quest details, explaining how a bandit group recently attacked the Baron's territory and took over the ruins close to the forest. There are 20 bandits total fully armed. The idea is simple. They will surround the bandits from each direction. Everyone is to charge inside the forest upon the signal. This plan seems pretty damn weird in the eyes of Eldomia, especially since they're to execute this strategy in an open area. Some of the adventurers find trouble with the idea. Even Cheryl is suspecting the Baron's intentions. Both can tell that something's not right. The commotion from the adventurers is concerning, so the manager helps calm them down. Apparently the Baron desires for the bandits to be quietly eliminated, and since guild adventurers are really powerful, this job should be easy. To make it more fun, the Baron proposes another condition. Anyone who follows his plan perfectly will earn 5 silver coins as a bonus. Money always motivates people, and here it's the biggest example. The same people who were having issues are now ready for anything. The manager is a sneaky evil bastard who thinks he's manipulated everyone, but both Eldomia and Cheryl break off from the main line, refusing to follow the orders. The boy questions if they've got any complaints. The manager pretends that all is well, but it's clear that the Baron is giving him the nastiest "I will fire your ass if you don't convince them" glare. In the end, Eldomia and Cheryl don't even care to listen to what these losers have to say and go about their own way. Both share their thoughts. It's clear that the plan to charge right in is a trap. The Baron has a scheme, and though the goal is unknown, Cheryl is getting an ominous feeling that all the other adventurers are going to die. The bandits are secretly wading into the forest as instructed, already secretly conspiring with the Baron. They believe their jobs have become so much easier. They can independently take care of the two that separated from the pack, and even last time was no different. The adventurers came full speed and met their demise. While these guys are amusing themselves with the idea of getting the better of the adventurers again, out comes our boy swinging his blade from behind, flanking them ahead of time. Eldomia's blade chops off the head of the yapper. His buddies don't even know how to react. The boy's heavy fist strikes a guy's nose so hard that he literally smashes his head into the tree. That's a gruesome death. The bandits prepare to confront the unexpected ambush, realizing it's one of the rookies from earlier. Our boy wastes no time pulling his sword and chopping them all down like a bunch of kebabs. One archer manages to shoot his arrow, but Eldomia learned Ultra Instinct from Goku and dodged it point blank. His sword slashes are so brutal that he's literally vaporizing his enemies, more like his victims. Catching body after body, Eldomia stands in the middle to wait for them to attack. These clowns somehow still think they're gonna win, so he meets them with a smile. Before this, he discussed with Cheryl how there must be some sort of trap inside the forest. Refusing to be blinded, Eldomia intended to save the losers who were also blinded by the silver earlier, so he made up his own new plan. Well, it can hardly be called a plan. It's basically, I'm gonna kill them all and leave no witnesses. With bodies shredded apart, Eldomia has already made quick work of most of the group. He understands that the Baron will soon come to learn of this unexpected turnaround, but the good thing is that the adventurers won't be manipulated anymore. Slightly worried about Cheryl, Eldomia convinces himself that she'll be doing fine, though he personally intends to pull back before more reinforcements surround him. Before leaving, he smacks one of the idiots whose face he bashed. Bro opens his eyes to see Eldomia's murderous face, who threatens the bandit to have a little chat with him. Next, we arrive at Cheryl's side of things, who has located the ruins in the middle of the forest, which is code for the bandits' hideout. The place looks empty, but there is a warehouse, looking way too pristine to be called a ruin. She goes inside, descending down the basement, questioning the purpose of such a secret base. The pungent smell nearly takes her out until she stumbles into something. The dark reality unveils itself before Cheryl's eyes. There are mountains of corpses resting in this basement, the same as the truth that Eldomia learns from the bandit he's interrogating. Bodies of the adventurers are buried there. He demands to know what on earth could they gain from doing something so frighteningly inhumane, to which the bandit explains that they were following orders so they could burn the bodies. The Baron hired them, which confirms direct involvement of the man. Eldomia wants to know about the location of the bodies. Apparently they're hidden deep in the forest with executives protecting them. Those people are the original subordinates of the Baron, with enough might to wield aura. In other words, Cheryl is in deep danger as a shadowy figure approaches the basement. She's still too busy gathering clues, realizing that these adventurers are the green rank ones from the first raid. They're rookies, but the new quest was to target blue ranks like them. Again, she's confused. Why would anyone go so far just for a basement collection full of rot? Before any of her questions could be answered, the guard ominously climbs down the stairs, making Cheryl realize that she's cooked. She barely turns around just in time to react, but her fate is left unknown. Cutting back to the scene of the Baron, he's got his plans in motion, more than willing to deal with any survivors that survive the onslaught. Suddenly, one bandit quickly reports to the Baron that there's been an emergency. The moment the Baron learns about Eldomia cutting down all his men, Bro's poker face is demolished. This is such a great upset to his plan that he tells the mediator to quickly have the adventurers to remain on standby for now. Next, the Baron personally involves himself to cut down the boy who dared to mess with him. By the way, on this very same quest, the cloaked adventurer from the office is secretly observing everything. Okay, time for some action. Cheryl has just evaded the subordinates slash. He's annoyed that Papa Vera couldn't even handle one kid, and now that the girl has seen this basement, she'll join the rest of the corpses. This man is supposed to be one of the executives, and though Cheryl doesn't know his strength, she's so strong now that she can command a flow of aura. It itches her in ecstasy to fight this man. It's funny how this dude was acting so creepy at first, but the moment he sees her casting aura, Bro's terrified and doesn't even know what kind of monstrous girl he's going up against. His body has flown out the basement. Cheryl demands to know everything or else she'll guarantee added suffering. He laughs at her for playing the hero, just because she can use some aura. Unfortunately for Cheryl, he's got a lot of friends by his side too. It's a numbers disadvantage, and she's not Eldomia. She can't handle so many of them all at once. The thought suddenly clicks to her senses. The daughter of the Great Knight remembers that she too has a friend. That friend is the Azure Swordsman who has just joined the fight. Bro makes his grand entrance by chopping 2 heads for a start. The subordinate didn't expect Cheryl to have backup, and the moment he turns to look back at her, she's gone. She teleports behind him in a gorgeous speed blitz, and I have to give credit, this dude still ends up reacting well to it. Unfortunately, her aura sword is far too powerful and cuts past his weapon, chopping the dude's head right off alongside it. Eldomia furthers his own deadly descent, stabbing the rest of them, but the fight seems too easy. All this time, he heard about the executives being capable of using aura, except these guys are like chicken shit. Cheryl is happy that he came just in time. She reports the situation of the basement, how it's filled with rotting adventurers from the first quest. Her only regret is accidentally killing all of these guys, because now they can't get any info. Eldomia is fine with that, explaining that he already has one dude that he interrogated earlier for information. They did a lot just now by saving the adventurers and interrupting the Baron's plans, yet they still don't know the ultimate goal of the Baron. Hearing a rustling sound drawing nearby, our boy realizes that someone's approaching them. It's the man himself who decides to turn up for the personal duel. Our boy reacts beautifully against the Baron's sword swing. Both of them seem to be capable of channeling aura. Eldomia is impressed and was expecting this dude to show up anyway. While it's not like it made any difference, all of his men have been butchered and slaughtered. Those amazing plans are gone in the process. The Baron begins to blame himself for his own schemes to raise his status. Eldomia mocks him for trying to gain something out of deceiving people. Knowing that the boy will never understand him, the Baron lunges forth to clash sword against sword. Before he can kill the blue-haired boy, the Baron decides to reveal the secret of his corpse collection. The idea was to disguise them as a bunch of bandits, and then burn them. He had this long strategy to announce a third quest, where he would personally announce the killing of so many bandits as his own personal achievement, when in reality, the corpses would actually be the ones of the adventurers. This would get him all the fame and recognition needed, and though this psychotic Baron's plans may have been spoiled a bit, he still refuses to give up. Fro is playing the long game, planning to hire as many bandits and recruiting as many adventurers for his plans to work. Eldomia is disgusted with his worldview, furious that someone could do such a thing for a personal gain. He slips down the sword and kicks the Baron straight in the gut, launching him into a tree. It's a heavy hit. Not even the skilled Baron could comprehend what happened just now. The boy had used incredible speed to outdo him. Eldomia tells him to be happy, because he will personally take it upon himself that the world gets to see just how filthy of a human being this man is. The same Baron who sacrificed adventurers suddenly pleads like a whiny little bitch to be spared, stating that he was just following orders and doing as told. Eldomia refuses to believe him, right until he hears that it's the demons. Yes, you heard that correctly, this is the plot twist. Baron Papayero was persuaded by the demons to do all of these heinous things, that he would be killed if he didn't follow their demands. The word demons spirals a different kind of animal inside of Eldomia, igniting his rage and desire for vengeance. Choosing to believe another word coming out of the Baron's mouth, our boy thinks that this is just an elaborate excuse to stall for time. Eldomia's blade is moments away from piercing the Baron's neck, who pleads that he's even willing to take them to the demons. Just then, one cloaked adventurer, the same guy from before, lands into the field and cuts straight past our boy to personally kill the Baron before he could spout a single word. There goes Eldomia's one and only chance to get the information he needed. He doesn't even process what the hell just happened, while the cloaked figure smiles, only to have taken care of the bastard before he could spill all their secrets. Lifting off his hood, he turns to the kid and thinks it's a shame. Instead of fighting, they head back to have a conversation about this. Cheryl realizes that the King's Shadows group actually exists. They're an elite intelligence faction operating from the dark, possessing tremendous control over information. These are the kind of people who would do anything for the sake of the kingdom's benefit. And though her own father never told her the details, she can tell that this guy is one of them. She confirms that he indeed belongs to the King's Shadows group, as expected of Surakov's daughter. The guy's name is Walter, and Walter intentionally brought them back to the guild for a conversation. Eldomia isn't pleased with the fancy introductions. All he's pissed about is why Walter White over here killed Papiara. The chemistry teacher apologizes to Breaking Bad about their situation. He didn't have any intentions of stealing credit. But credit isn't the problem here. There was valuable information to be learned from the Baron's connection about the demons, and they can no longer acquire that information anymore. It begs the question what Walter and his own agency is plotting. To answer that question, the guildmaster personally steps forth to clear the confusion, apologizing for his late arrival. This is Engram, the master of the guild, and the fact that he's also involved with the King's Shadows group means this situation is a lot more complicated. Engram apologizes for the incident caused. The guild didn't run a background check properly, and it's only thanks to Eldomia's group that the adventurers survived. Sitting down on his seat, Engram apologizes for not being direct with answering the boy's question for now as it concerns confidential information. Again, our boy expresses his anger and frustration because they lost a valuable asset for information. Even Cheryl agrees with him, which almost never happens. The guildmaster decides to explain the purpose of why these two were brought here, as they're to be entrusted with a special secret quest. If the boy agrees, they'll hand him the information they have, but that means this quest is also going to be tough. Asking for details, Eldomia looks confused, and though being indirect, the guildmaster makes it clear that the quest is regarding the Demon King's army. Combat is going to be unavoidable for this mission, and this confirms the direct involvement of the demons. All this time, the boy who lost his family years ago had been dying to get a chance to exact his revenge against those murderous bastards, and now he has that opportunity, so he takes the quest at once. Engram tells him to consult Walter for any specific details, to which the reconnaissance agent suggests they switch locations alone. Cheryl wants to go too, but is stopped from joining along, startled that she doesn't get to have the fun. This is on behalf of her identity as the daughter of the king's third swordsman. It would be a bad look and draw a lot of attention if her name is dragged. The girl is seriously bummed out and tells Eldomia to wait, offering meaningful words to him. She knows that he feels heavy, but that emotion can get him to act reckless. Cheryl advises him against that. The boy pretends to be fine and leaves off, causing her a silent concern. In the next scene, they're brought to a cemetery. Walter mentions how the rate of bandit subjugations have only been increasing lately. That's because the kingdom has recently discovered that many others like the Baron are working under someone else's command. Still, it seems too underwhelming in Eldomia's eyes, who found them all boring at best. The thing is, these guys are just being used as a bunch of pawns for attention. The real goal lies elsewhere. Walter explains that they've learned from interrogating many bandits that a small group of demons has infiltrated the royal capital. They don't know the goal of these demons, but one thing is for sure, they're creating distractions to sever the kingdom's attention. Eldomia argues that it would be wiser to use the kingdom's own army than to use some child like him for this mission. Apparently, they want a hidden weapon by their side, one that isn't caught in the eyes of the demons, one who can operate in secrecy but still navigate in the eyes of the public. The mission is to find the demons and uncover their objective, potentially capturing them alive too. Elimination is also permitted if options are lacking. Walter hands the boy a note to head to the location, where the people will accompany him on this request too. It's not a solo mission because confronting the demons all by himself would be a stupid move. All the teammates selected for this mission were handpicked by the guildmaster, so they're reliable and to be trusted. That same night our boy arrives at the designated location, and since this place is close to the hideout of the demons, he has to play carefully. Entering inside the inn, Eldomia notices the bustling crowd of people. To his shock, there's actually a welcome banner in his name. Bro genuinely doesn't know what the hell's going on. One beefy muscle mommy greets the young lad, urging him to come over and sit with them. Seeing the shabby condition of these drunk idiots, Eldomia thinks the guildmaster must have been selecting these guys with his eyes closed. Our boy associates himself with these 3 team members. The drunkards don't even know what he's talking about. These guys don't even remember the name of the guildmaster who recruited them. Eldomia is concerned that they're acting so conspicuously that they'll be noticed by everyone. However, they don't seem to give a damn because the demons would never turn up in a place like this. Honestly, Eldomia is getting rage-baited so hard right now. This is like that one meme with the monkey remaining calm and the tiger failing its rage bait. Anyway, Muscle Mommy thinks it's time for some introductions. She's a Katarina, and looking at those abs, I'm gonna say it all for you. Smash to the moon and back. The dainty petite midget is Raya, a shy introverted mage. One is timid and the other is a loudmouth. Eldomia is genuinely worried if either of them have any experience. Then there's the mustache man, who simply ignored the kid and his questions. The old dude is actually Gigan. The dwarf doesn't really like to talk much and only loves to draw. I think we can all agree that Eldomia's face shows the kind of shit he's dealing with. The fact that he's gotta team up with these guys is even worse. To introduce himself, Eldomia thinks it's not even needed anymore. Ekaterina is just happy she gets to be paired with the amazing Mad Dog, the alias that everyone is familiar with. It's a very shitty nickname, bro. Can't believe that his first nickname has the word dog in it. But I think it's fair because bro's got that dog in him. Suddenly, a fight breaks out between a customer and the barkeeper. This drunkard dumbass doesn't want to pay, roaring that they're all gonna be servants soon anyway. Something is suspicious about this drunk clown. His buddy quickly pays up the amount while covering his friend's mouth as if he was afraid of secrets being spilled. Saying so, the large group leaves altogether after their shared meal. Our boy asks if the group saw all of that. Luckily, they're competent enough to see that something's fishy. The mage really understands that humans are siding with demons, so it's possible these guys are like those people, too. Ekaterina is just dying to beat the ever-living crap out of them. But first, can we talk about those boulder shoulders because goddamn. Aside from my simping, Eldomia thinks it's way too obvious that if they did that, they'll be hunted down by the demons. Instead, he recommends tailing for the time being. Ekaterina is stunned that the mad dog has some street smarts on him, too, while our boy begs them to just get on with the mission. Following these guys into the forest, the mage asks if they should keep going. However, our boy suggests they stop because it might lead them to a trap. So for that purpose, our boy casts a tiny little butterfly for the job, impressing Relly. This butterfly of magic trails them, giving them an easy track to follow while keeping maximum distance. Relly is impressed that the swordsman can handle communicating with spirits. The boy expresses that he had learned it from his elven master. Still, the focus is on the group, so he hastens them to follow. The tracking mission leads them to a hidden lair, some kind of abandoned dungeon from afar. The person awaiting them is disappointed that his men are so late. Eldomia's eyes widen in shock. He eyes down the demon's jagged horns and haunting stature. I was expecting these guys to be ugly, but damn, Fro's looking like he could rizz up girls without even trying. The demon is frustrated that these shitty humans are crappy at following orders while Eldomia is still processing his shock. The demon reminds his men that they were tasked to go to the village, but they didn't even return on time. The men apologize for having their first break, addressing him as Lord Incanter. The other drunkard lets his mouth slide and rebels against Lord Incanter, expressing that they deserve a little break for working so hard. He runs his loudmouth demanding better treatment from a literal Satan spawn by the way. Lord Incanter is pleased to grant his wishes. Grabbing this man by the face, he freaking makes his head explode on contact. Talk about scaring the crap out of everyone else. Even Eldomia's group is terrified. Lord Incanter does not play around. That's rule number 1. He calls the fallen human a miserable, foolish wretch and orders the others to quickly dispose of him. A battle will soon result in the victory of the demons, and when that happens, they will all be given appropriate rewards. Until then, they're to keep following orders. The men obey in unison. Ekaterina expected this much from those psychotic demons, but Eldomia has gone awfully quiet. This guy's emotions are getting the best of him right now. He hasn't forgotten the lifelong trauma he endured, the scars he was given that one fateful day where he lost everything. And now, he's finally found his targets at least, dying to slaughter them all. After watching their buddy get his skull crushed like a watermelon, the lackeys drag his body with them into the dungeon. Seeing that, Ekaterina, being the absolute genius she is, instantly jumps to her feet. She draws her hammer and tells the group to chase them down before they get too deep inside. Our MC immediately grabs the smooth-brained girl and tells her to hold her horses until he forms a proper plan. Hearing the commotion, the demon instantly spins around and shoots a suspicious glare toward the bushes. While the two hide behind a pair of tiny shrubs, he slowly steps closer and closer. As soon as our hero realizes the demon has no intention of stopping, he knows he has to do something. Suddenly, the demon's arm transforms into a blade and slices the shrubs clean in half. However, he finds nothing behind it besides the sound of leaves rustling nearby. Figuring he was just being paranoid, he lets it go. Somewhere deeper in the forest, the group finally stops in a small clearing. Out of breath and relieved to be alive, Ekaterina remarks that they came way too close for comfort. Then, like the world-class airhead she is, she jokes that it is amazing they never got caught by that sharp-looking demon. Boiling with rage, our boy tears into her. He genuinely cannot figure out what goes on inside that monkey brain of hers, because she is the reason they almost lost their heads. Completely confused by his reaction, she argues that their job was to fight demons anyway, so she does not see what the big deal is. With years of battle experience under his belt, Eddie gives her a harsh reality check. Barging into enemy territory without confirming how many enemies are there or how strong they are is the fastest way to get yourself killed. He yells that they are not playing GTA 5, so if she cannot take this seriously, she should pack it up and go home already. Looking at the two empty-headed rookies staring back at him, he says the same advice applies to both of them. He has no clue why they were even recruited when they are clearly not qualified, so they should quit while they are still breathing. After all, he cannot afford to fail. His entire goal is to expose the Demon King's rats working behind the scenes. With that, he walks off and orders them to report everything that happened to the guildmaster, because he is going to handle this dumpster fire alone. After he leaves, the shy mage looks over at Ekaterina, wondering what they should do now. By nightfall, our protagonist stands high on the edge of a cliff, carefully observing the enemy's movements and patrol routes. He notices there is always one demon posted outside as a lookout. Refusing to rush in blind, he refuses to make a move until he has a clear layout of the dungeon. Right then, a pair of stubby legs appears behind him. The dwarf Gigan hands him a map. The moment he unfolds the neatly drawn layout, he can hardly believe his eyes. Rely and Ekaterina soon show up as well, explaining that Gigan spent the entire time mapping every cave and dungeon in the area after they accepted the mission. Hearing that, he remembers the dwarf was busy drawing the very first time they met. He praises the dwarf for his impressive work, and the two share a moment. Next, Ekaterina apologizes for treating their dangerous mission like a joke earlier. She admits it has been so long since she last fought as part of a party that she fell back on pure instinct. Now that he has cooled off, he forgives her since they are all still alive and the enemy has no clue they are out there. The warrior then makes it clear that he might carry trauma from his past battles with demons, but she and the other two did not accept this mission just for kicks. Every one of them has their own reason for being there, and they are dead set on putting those demon dirtbags in the ground. So she extends a handshake and asks the mad dog to fight alongside them. Seeing that, he lets out a sigh because the only word that comes to mind is pathetic. Not because of the awkward way they made up, but because he let his emotions take over in the middle of a mission. He knows better than anyone that he cannot finish this job alone. Firmly shaking her hand, he reminds everyone that he will be calling the shots from now on. He will show them what he is really capable of and make up for that earlier slip-up. Now that everything is back on track, he states it is time to cook up the nastiest plan possible for those scumbags. One where everyone's strengths get to shine at their absolute best. Later, the lookout standing at the dungeon entrance is practically falling asleep on his feet. Suddenly, that sleepy NPC energy vanishes the moment he spots a towering muscle mommy walking his way. Shifting back a few minutes, the party's master plan is simple. The dungeon appears to be one long passage with several connected rooms branching off to the sides. If he was a filthy fox-eyed demon, he would do all his shady work in the room furthest in the back. So while one of them keeps the enemy distracted, the others can slip inside and search that room to uncover what they are plotting. He offers to act as the bait, but before he can even finish, Ekaterina cuts him off and insists that she wants the role instead. Grinning ear to ear, she says nobody is more qualified than her. Her entire existence is loud, and sneaking around like a little snitch has never been her style. Back in the present, she calls out to the lookout, who is staring at her with pure confusion written all over his face. Taking up a battle stance, Ekaterina orders him to drag all his demon boot-licking buddies outside, because she is about to fold every last one of them. She does not even give the poor dude time to answer before launching herself high into the air with her trusty hammer. The painful thwack of her weapon smashing into his skull echoes throughout the dungeon. The unlucky guard drops to the ground looking like expired milk. Ekaterina realizes she may have accidentally overdone it and killed him, but her job of grabbing everyone's attention is a success. With that, the other three rush into the dungeon to begin phase 2 of the plan. Meanwhile, in one of the dungeon chambers, the demon quietly goes about his usual demon business. Suddenly, one of his lackeys barges in to report that some random woman is causing chaos at the front entrance. Annoyed that the fool is telling him something he already knows, the demon casually cuts the asshole out of pure spite. With his shuriken activated, he boasts that someone of his greatness could obviously sense something that trivial. Looking behind him, his number one meat rider asks how they should proceed with the operation. The attackers at the entrance are probably only the beginning, and he suggests they should retreat before even more of their allies show up. But Lord Encanter answers with an ice-cold stare, declaring that the operation must not be stopped. Their success is guaranteed as long as the plan reaches completion. After ordering his lackey to quit slacking off and focus on the one job he has, the demon heads toward the entrance to teach those clowns a lesson for picking a fight with the wrong demon. At the entrance, all of the traitors line up to stop the attacker causing trouble. From one of the side rooms, our boy casually watches the brain-rotted goons rushing out, convinced there's only one enemy. Now that every last one of them is gathered at the entrance, he tells the other two it is time to sneak through the side passages and make their way toward the deepest chamber. The dwarf is immediately on board, but he notices the mage is nowhere near ready. The girl shakes from head to toe like a vibrator, and her knees feel so weak she cannot even stand. She has genuine concern and asks if she is alright, and she admits this always happens whenever she gets nervous. Roai hates her weakness, folding under pressure right before the biggest moment. Surprisingly, he tells her there is nothing wrong with feeling that way. Whenever he faces a demon, his palms get sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. Even then, he keeps his mind fixed on what truly matters, and his goals always overpower that fear. He reminds her that she joined this mission for her own reasons as well, so he is confident she can do it if she stays focused on them. Roai feels much better after hearing his reassuring words. The party then pushes deeper into the dungeon, getting almost halfway to their objective. Meanwhile, outside, Ekaterina laughs like an absolute maniac as she swats demon worshippers around like it's human whack-a-mole. Watching another comrade catch a hammer to the face and crash to the ground with a nasty thud, the remaining cultists start getting cold feet. While they desperately rack their rusty little brains trying to figure out how to stop the towering warrior, she knocks out every last one of them. Somehow, she manages to do it without smashing a single skull open. Ekaterina is almost disappointed by how ridiculously easy the whole thing feels. Her proud grin quickly disappears though, when an overwhelming sense of dread suddenly washes over her. She spins around just barely in time to block Lord Incander's sneak attack. Even though the sheer force of his punch sends her sliding across the ground, she is not intimidated in the slightest. Instead, she is hyped to finally come face to face with the two-horned bastard. On the other hand, the demon is puzzled to find only a single attacker since he clearly sensed more than that. The crafty fox quickly pieces everything together and realizes she is nothing but the loud distraction while the others have already slipped into his dungeon. Genuinely impressed, the demon actually praises their plan, catching Ekaterina completely off guard. A sinister aura wraps around his hand as he decides to finish her off as quickly as possible before heading back to exterminate the pests crawling through his base. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, the Mad Dog's party is only one corner away from the deepest chamber. As they reach the end of the hallway, the final room finally comes into view. His eyes widen in disbelief when he sees what is waiting inside. Two black-robed sorcerers stand before a massive magic portal and their only task is keeping it open. The moment Release sees it, she explains they are using teleportation magic to maintain a gate. Our hero cannot wrap his head around why anyone would build a portal inside some random dungeon unless it is meant to transport things on a massive scale. Think too long and you lose, so he decides to shut the portal down first and figure out its purpose later. One of the mages calmly raises his free hand and casts another spell. It turns out to be a hidden trap and Eldamia unknowingly steps right onto it. By the time he realizes what happened, it is already too late as a towering wall of scorching flames completely engulfs him. Then the demon thinks he has finally taken Eddie down. To his surprise, our boy walks straight out of the trap without a single scratch. It turns out Roy threw up a barrier around him just in time. The demon cannot wrap his head around how someone managed to cast a barrier that fast. Roy tells Eddie to quit getting distracted and focus entirely on the attack. Our boy immediately charges the demon at full speed. Eddie swings for a one-shot finish, but the mage throws up another barrier to block the strike, leaving our boy thoroughly annoyed by the sneaky defense. Right behind him, the second demon gets ready to launch his own attack. Suddenly, Gigan bursts out of the ground, catching the poor rascal completely off guard. He folds the demon by driving his iron pickaxe straight into his spine like he is mining diamonds. Seeing that, the first demon freezes for a split second. Our boy wastes no time taking advantage of the opening and smashes straight through his barrier. He grabs the demon by the head and slams him into the ground so hard it nearly knocks him out. He demands to know why they are building the gate. The demon only smirks back, saying he would rather die than hand information over to a filthy inferior race. Roy points out that the gate is already almost complete, and if they had arrived even a little later, the result could have been an absolute catastrophe. Our hero declares that he will simply destroy the gate, but Roy immediately shuts that idea down with a serious warning. She explains that the gate is an advanced technique requiring an absurd amount of mana to connect two distant locations. A portal this massive must be overflowing with mana. Disturbing that flow would trigger a gigantic explosion capable of wiping out the entire dungeon along with the entire region. Hearing that only makes his anger grow, and he demands to know if the demon knows a safe way to destroy the gate. The nasty sock laughs before spitting blood right across Roy's face. He smugly declares that he is not telling them jack because even if this plan fails, the demons will simply come up with another one. They will keep trying again and again until they rule the entire world. The smug sorcerer laughs in their faces, mocking them by saying there is nothing they can do. After that, Roy is completely consumed by rage and starts beating the demon into ketchup. As he pummels the sucker without mercy, he keeps demanding to know what the demons are doing here and why they are building the gate. Seeing the savage beating unfold, the others are left speechless and have no clue how to stop him. Throughout the brutal beatdown, the only thought echoing through his mind is why the demons always have to steal everything important to him. Finally deciding enough is enough, Jigan grabs Eddie's arm and forcibly stops him. Looking into the dwarf's eyes and seeing his own reflection staring back, he slowly comes back to his senses. At that moment, a familiar voice echoes through the hallway, casually remarking that his interrogation has gotten a little out of hand. Jigan turns to see Lord Incanter walking down the corridor while dragging a Katarina across the floor by her hair. The demon coldly remarks that she put up a brave fight. Seeing her like that immediately throws our boy into a flashback where he asks whether she is really willing to act as the bait. He clearly warned her that the role is incredibly dangerous. Without a hint of hesitation, she told him not to worry and to leave everything to her. Meanwhile, Incanter smugly declares she was brave or not, but she was never even close to beating him. Seeing that, Eddie loses his cool and charges straight at Incanter. While shouting, he demands to know what the hell he did to a Katarina. The demon responds by grabbing her body, and to our boy's horror, the crafty demon hurls her straight at him. He barely manages to catch her in time and quickly tells her to hang on. Incanter instantly takes advantage of the opening and drives a brutal punch into his face, sending him sliding across the floor. The demon looks genuinely surprised that he is still standing afterward. According to him, that punch was no joke. He cannot wrap his head around how some human punk is still on his feet after eating a hit like that. Meanwhile, our hero gently lays a Katarina on the ground. Incanter starts dwelling on the strange feeling he keeps getting from our boy, but immediately brushes it off. At that moment, Jigan seizes the golden opportunity and swings his iron pickaxe. The demon casually turns his hand into a blade and snaps that plastic toy in half. Looking completely dumbfounded, he wonders what a pickaxe is doing on a battlefield. Right then, Riley lands a spell into his back. Incanter immediately spins around and sees the mage preparing another spell. This time she puts even more mana into her magic, unleashing a barrage that puts the demon down. Unfortunately for her, dodging her attacks is child's play for the demon boss. Deciding she's become a nuisance, he locks onto her as his next target. With murderous intent, Incanter rushes straight at Riley, but something feels off. Before he can react, Jigan bursts out from beneath the ground, grabs both of his legs, and drags him underground. Riley instantly capitalizes on the opening and unleashes her strongest magic, convinced this has to be the finishing blow. The blast sends the demon flying across the chamber. Incanter tries to brace himself, but still gets launched backward across the room. Eddie wastes no time and jumps him before he can recover. He swings his mana-infused sword, only for Incanter to stop the blade with his forearm, which is also reinforced with pure mana. Our boy already expected that much. He immediately follows up with a relentless flurry of strikes as the two trade blow after blow. Finally, the demon throws a heavy punch at our boy. He raises his sword just in time to block it, so Incanter immediately follows up with a counterattack. Before it lands, Riley nails him in the back with another spell from his blind spot. Grinding his teeth, the demon realizes he should have deleted the mage when he had the chance. While the demon boss is distracted by that thought, our boy takes full advantage of the opening and swings again. This time his blade finally connects, making the demon cough up blood. Seeing his chance, Eddie immediately follows up with one final thrust and drives his sword straight through the Incanter's chest. He's convinced he won. His confidence instantly disappears when the attack comes to a dead stop. Incanter has casually trapped the blade between his arm and chest. Instead of getting angry, the demon bursts into laughter. He excitedly declares that the kingdom is serious if they are sending a human who can use raw mana. Using his free hand, he casually snaps his sword in half. Flashing a nasty grin, he warns them that playtime is over. From this point on, there's no holding back. A terrifying shockwave of mana erupts from his body as his muscles get ripped, nearly doubling in size. In an instant, the bastard looks more like the Hulk than a demon. Even our mad dog feels a chill run down his spine. Incanter proudly declares that they forced him to unleash this power. They are free to throw everything they have at him, but the ending will not change. Every last one of them will die by his hands. Flashing back to the past, little Ed was practicing his sword strikes on a training dummy. Suddenly, Elsie yelled at him to stop because he was using pure mana. She explained that swordsmen are supposed to refine mana into aura before using it since raw mana is dangerous. According to her, mana is like smelted iron that can be forged into armor or weapons to boost either offense or defense. Knights and mages shape it differently depending on how they fight. What he is doing, however, is basically the same as wearing molten iron and seriously injuring his body for life. Her eyes widen when he casually told her he's been doing it for years and nothing ever happened. The little rascal just laughs, saying wearing molten iron sounds low-key awesome and he wants to learn how to use it. His sister was confused because only 2 races can manipulate pure mana. Curious little Ed asks what those races are and whether he is one of them, but Elsie refuses to tell a little kid something like that. Annoyed that she is keeping secrets from him, he starts complaining. So Elsie promises he will discover the answer himself one day if he stays committed to his mission. Shifting back to the present, our MC is convinced the aura surrounding Encanter's body is the same pure mana he uses. He dodges the demon boss's first punch, but the follow-up comes too quickly to avoid. The brutal knuckle sandwich sends him flying straight into a pillar. Seeing his condition, Riley immediately tries to distract the demon boss. She throws up a barrier just as he fires a wave of mana at her, but the flimsy defense shatters instantly. Showing no mercy to the injured girl, Encanter rushes in to finish her. Right then, the ground beneath him crumbles. The demon looks down in confusion as Gigan bursts up from below, ambushing him and forcing him back. Once again, the dwarf disappears underground and tries to flank him from behind. Already expecting it, Encanter is far too sharp to fall for the same trick twice. Still airborne, the dwarf realizes he is completely cooked as his target turns around with a nasty grin. Encanter drives a crushing roundhouse kick into his gut, sending him crashing into the stone pillars just like Eddie. Still recovering from the impact that shook his organs, our boy is frustrated by how the demon's power suddenly shot through the roof. Lord Encanter releases his subordinate from his restraints and orders him to finish opening the gate. While the sorcerer gets back to work, our hero desperately tries to figure out what makes Encanter's mana so powerful, and more importantly, how to beat him. At that moment, he notices the mana wrapped around the demon boss's hand flicker for a moment. His sister's example of pure mana to molten iron flashes through his mind. A wicked grin spreads across his face as a juicy theory comes to his mind. Without another second to waste, he charges the demon head-on once again. Seeing that, Encanter gets pissed, snapping that he was willing to let him crawl away if he had stayed put like a good little dog. He immediately blinds the burly demon by throwing a fistful of sand straight into his eyes. The demon boss barely reacts, convinced he is getting desperate enough to try cheap tricks. That bit of arrogance gives the mad dog the opening he needs to leap onto his back from behind. He drives his sword deep into the demon's back, and a world of pain crashes into the cocky demon who underestimated his opponent. Now that he has figured out the secret behind Encanter's transformation, he reveals his theory. The demon's body is bloated with pure mana. He never refined it into aura. Just moments ago, Eddie noticed his body already leaking the mana and barely holding together, so he is eager to see what happens if he force feeds even more mana into him. Encanter immediately panics and desperately tries to throw him off. Using his free hand, he launches another attack with the pure mana surging through his body. In the very next moment, a huge spray of blood splatters across the walls. It is not the mad dog's blood though, but Ekaterina's as she desperately clings onto the demon's arm. Lord Encanter stares in disbelief, unable to understand how the muscle mommy is still moving while hanging on by a thread. That opening is all Eldomia needs, letting him drive his blade deep into Lord Encanter's back. The sheer force of the strike shatters the ground beneath them, burying the demon's legs halfway into the earth as Eldomia's sword pushes deeper and deeper. Lord Encanter barely manages to stay standing. His number one bootlicker, who is still maintaining the portal, offers to help out of concern. The cold-blooded demon, however, orders the spineless lackey to shut the hell up and finish what he started. Right then, the sorcerer senses an attack coming from behind. He is forced to keep the gate active with one hand while throwing up a barrier with the other. It turns out the light attack was only bait for Reli's surprise follow-up. She rushes in from behind and absolutely clocks the nerd with a staff nearly as big as she is, unleashing every bit of pent-up hatred she has for demons. The sorcerer nearly blacks out from the impact, but Rely is stunned to see he is still conscious. The sorcerer flashes her a smug grin, claiming she would have won if she had attacked just 1 second earlier. Now that the gate is fully complete, the demon's operation succeeds despite everything the party throws at it. Eldomia and Ekaterina are crushed, realizing all their efforts were for nothing. At the same time, Lord Encanter wears the grin of a man who already thinks he has won. The demon suddenly pumps even more mana into his body, leaving Eddie wondering if the lunatic has a death wish. His magic power erupts in every direction, blasting both of them away and making Eldomia think the psycho just pulled a suicide nuke. That theory falls apart almost immediately when he spots the shriveled remains of the demon bastard and realizes he dumped every drop of stored mana into one massive blast just to knock them back. Panicking, the old fossil starts waddling toward the portal at top speed, desperate to cross into demon territory. Seeing that coward bolt after everything he has done sends our boy completely over the edge. Lord Encanter laughs at the top of his lungs, boasting that the successful gate means humans and their tiny kingdom are about to get absolutely wiped off the map. One look at the mad dog is enough to make the demon swallow those words, seething with rage that this dirtbag is trying to run after everything he put his friends through. Eldomia wraps himself in an overwhelming surge of mana. He launches forward like a sniper round, and with his sword perfectly lined up between the demon's neck and shoulders, the mad dog cleanly takes his head clean off. Unfortunately, his momentum is far too great to stop, and he is already right on top of the portal. Both the hero and the headless cockroach are dragged straight through the gate. On the other side, a group of sorcerers and another demon lord celebrate the portal's successful activation. Their boss orders everyone to prepare the device and send it over the moment Lord Incantor arrives. When his subordinate asks why he is taking so long, the man has complete faith that his little brother must have a good reason. That confidence shatters into pieces when a blue-haired human walks through the gate instead of his brother. His expression goes blank as he sees the battered human carrying a half-cracked sword while his brother's severed head rolls out behind him like a bowling ball. The entire squad freezes solid, and the demon boss completely short-circuits, unable to process what the hell just happened. Chaos immediately erupts as his followers lose their minds, refusing to believe some random human brat actually slayed a twin-horned demon. One of the subordinates quickly asks Lord Incantor for orders, but their boss remains completely silent, seething with rage over his brother's death. The demon finally snaps at our hero, demanding to know what the hell he did to his brother. Gasping for air and barely able to stand, our MC expected demons would be waiting for him on the other side of the gate. What he never factored into his calculations was just how many there would be. He may be strong, but his body has already hit its limit and his mana reserves are empty. Lord Incantor completely loses it, drawing his sword while swearing that he will regret ever showing his face after what he did to his baby brother. Not just him either. Every human on the other side of that gate will suffer his wrath. Hearing that, a new idea suddenly pops into his head. He welcomes the raging meathead to go right ahead and see how far that gets him. Since he has such a massive itch for a fight, he should pay a visit to the Human Kingdom's army, which already knows about the invasion. He confidently claims that a squad of the kingdom's most elite royal knights is already waiting outside, ready to fold a loudmouth scrub like Dakin in half. The demons can either retreat now or march straight into their own funeral. One of Lord Dakin's subordinates starts sweating bullets, reminding his boss that, lie or not, Lord Incantor really did get packed up. The moment the royal knights are mentioned, Dakin suddenly freezes, making our hero think the bluff actually worked. After the brief silence, however, a wicked grin spreads across the demon lord's face. Delighted to hear the humans have conveniently gathered outside for them, Lord Dakin orders his subordinate to bring out the weapon. Our protagonist silently watches, wondering what the hell they are talking about. Moments later, two demons will over a giant catapult-like device with a massive pokeball-looking sphere resting on top. His jaw nearly hits the floor from the ridiculous amount of mana packed inside that giant orb. Lord Dakin laughs like a complete lunatic, explaining that he originally intended to use the weapon as leverage during negotiations, but now that the plan has been exposed, negotiations are officially off the table. The Demon Lord is practically thrilled that there is no need for boring diplomacy anymore. He will simply watch the entire human kingdom burn to the ground. Simply stunned by the unhinged decision, his subordinate reminds him that using the weapon requires approval from the higher-ups. Firmly grabbing the poor guy's shoulders, Dakin insists that 100 royal knights waiting outside is obviously an emergency. Under circumstances like these, the higher-ups cannot complain because they have no damn choice but to authorize the weapon for their own survival. It is at that moment our MC realizes he screwed up big time. Even Velma without her glasses could tell that the mana packed inside that giant chamber is basically one massive explosive. At this scale, if the thing goes off, the results will be absolutely catastrophic. It finally clicks that the demons built this secret gate so they could sneak a weapon this huge straight into the kingdom. He grinds his teeth in frustration as Lord Dakin orders his men to shove the weapon through the gate, along with the annoying human brat. Before he knows it, he is surrounded by demon warriors while a gigantic bomb rolls straight down the middle toward him. Even so, he refuses to throw in the towel. Out of every mistake he has made in his life, the one thing he cannot allow is another demon catastrophe like the one that destroyed his childhood. The only problem is, he has no clue how to stop it. Right then, the gate flashes behind him. Turning around in confusion, he sees a Katarina charging through with her trusty hammer in hand, ready to back him up. She apologizes for taking so long because she had to go find her weapon. The warrior, together with the dwarf and the shy mage, immediately starts clearing out the trash mobs. She tells him not to waste time worrying about the cannon fodder and to focus on the boss instead. As he hears it, he pours mana into his sword and gets ready to make one gigantic gamble. Seeing the so-called elite royal knights show up, Lord Dakin smirks after realizing the whole story was one massive bluff. Ignoring the salty demon, Eldamia yeets his half-broken sword at the bomb with every ounce of strength he has left. Lord Dakin laughs at the pathetic attempt, explaining that the bombshell is immune to everything except raw mana. Charged with pure mana, the battered sword slices through its shell like a hot knife through butter. Lord Dakin just stands there looking like someone insulted his entire bloodline. Every demon instantly loses their mind after watching some random human brat shatter the mana barrier protecting their precious weapon. More cracks begin spreading across the shell with every passing second. Eldamia cannot help celebrating that his Unga Bunga caveman strategy of making the giant bomb go boom worked. While every demon starts hauling for the nearest exit, Lord Dakin remains rooted to the spot in complete disbelief. His last two brain cells are still trying to process how a human can use raw mana. On the other side, our mad dog collapses because the last bit of strength left in his body disappears after that final attack. He watches the giant pokeball looking ready to burst at any second, but his battered body refuses to move. At the very last moment, his party grabs him and drags him back through the portal. Crushed by the weight of his failure, Lord Dakin remains rooted to the spot as the nuclear explosion swallows him whole. Back on the other side, the party is blasted out of the gate. Our mad dog smacks his head hard against a wall and instantly checks into dreamland. Sometime later, his eyes slowly open inside an empty room, and he gets the strange feeling that he has been in this situation before. Much to his surprise, the first face he sees after waking up belongs to one of the king's shadows, Walter. He explains that his teammates brought him to a hospital in the royal capital. The man starts with a sincere apology for not informing him about the demon operation they already knew was taking place. Even so, the involvement of a two-horn-class demon caught them completely off guard as well. After that, he explains that the others told him everything about the demon's plan to sneak a bomb into the kingdom through the gate. As the man who single-handedly ruined their entire operation, Walter bows his head in respect and gratitude on behalf of the whole kingdom. Eldamia stays humble, saying he could never have pulled it off without his party. He immediately asks about the others, remembering they were just as badly injured as he was. Walter assures him they recovered much faster than expected. They have also been ordered to stay under the radar because they just completed a top-secret mission. Knowing he cannot even brag about his biggest achievement leaves a bitter taste in his mouth. Moving on, Walter explains he did not come just to say thanks. In fact, he has a formal offer that thousands of soldiers dream of receiving. He extends an invitation for Eldamia to become a royal knight. In just one mission, he proved he has top-tier leadership skills, and his combat ability speaks for itself. That is exactly why the higher-ups believe he should officially serve the kingdom as a knight with a handsome paycheck to match. Hearing that, the mad dog actually gives it some thought because opportunities like this do not come knocking every day. After mulling it over for a good while, he gives the obvious answer. Walter almost fails to believe his ears when the Jigachad swipes left on the invitation to become a royal knight. As he throws his clothes back on, our boy says the kingdom's intentions to exploit him could not be any more obvious. Walter's eyes narrow at the sharp remark, demanding to know what exactly he is implying. Sherlock calmly turns around and deduces that the kingdom is desperate because a full-scale war with the demons cannot be far away. Hearing a random commoner connect the dots that easily leaves the king's shadow speechless, he continues that the biggest giveaway was sending a party of random adventurers instead of the army, despite already knowing suspicious demon activity was happening inside their own territory. Calling it a top-secret mission was just polishing a turd because they probably did not have enough reserve troops to spare. Stepping into Walter's personal space, he asks if the man seriously believes tossing some bullshit title at a nobody like him will make him happily become their disposable meat shield. He says the higher-ups can go find some other loser to do their dirty work because he is not interested. Even after all that disrespect, Walter extends the offer one more time. He points out that becoming a royal knight would make hunting demons much easier. Our mad dog replies that he fights whenever he feels like it, and he will have his revenge on his own terms. Walter insists the kingdom truly is desperate, but they do not hand offers like this to just any random brat off the street. He gives it straight that the higher-ups genuinely respect both his ability and his value to the kingdom. We have no intention of getting in his way, but Walter leaves him with one final warning. From this day on, more eyes will watch him than ever before. Outside the hospital, he is greeted by a completely unexpected visitor. To his astonishment, Cheryl of all people came to see him. The girl rolls her eyes at him, leaving our MC wondering what kind of reaction that is supposed to be. She starts walking, remarking that he looks awfully lively for someone who nearly got folded by demons. The girl then tells him to follow her to a nearby shop. The two soon arrive at an armory where she explains that her father sent her to buy him a new sword since his old one snapped during the mission. He starts thinking about what kind of blade would suit him best. Remembering how his last sword shattered after clashing with Encanter's Manhwa, he asks the owner if he has anything sturdy enough to withstand even the strongest auras. The old man jokes he is fresh out of luck if he is looking for a dwarven blade capable of hunting dragons. He does not stock premium weaponry like that. Already annoyed by his greedy demand, Cheryl reminds him the sword is free, but he did not get permission to bankrupt her father's wallet. She tells him to pick a decent blade already, while a tiny dwarf quietly spies on the pair from behind. Later, they arrive at Lady Lagnus' estate, where the butler politely asks them to wait until Lady Lagnus arrives. Cheryl remarks that the woman is so busy these days, they cannot even meet her at her own home. Glancing out the window, our hero notices a squad of unfamiliar soldiers standing outside. Cheryl explains that the Empire of Ashnoa is currently paying a visit. He is surprised that Revi is involved with another empire, but Cheryl assumes they are looking to cooperate with the kingdom during these desperate times. She also reveals that Revi specifically wanted to hear the details of the mission directly from him before continuing with her meeting. It is then explained that the Empire of Ashnoa controls the largest territory among all the human nations. They also possess the strongest military force. More importantly, heroes are born only within Ashnoa. Not long after, Eldomia finally gets to see Revi again for the first time in years. Cheryl greets her with all the respect and honor a marquis deserves. Meanwhile, our mad dog opens his mouth like an absolute donut and blurts out that she looks way too mature now. Even so, he admits he is happy to see her again. Cheryl quickly points out that meeting a big shot like Lady Lagnus is not exactly something that happens every day. Even though she is buried knee-deep in work, Revi admits she feels closer than ever to her father now that she holds the same honorable position he once did. Done beating around the bush, she asks our hero to give a detailed report on everything he knows about the demons. After listening to the whole story, she is stunned to learn the situation runs far deeper than she expected. Revi concludes that the demons did not invade through sheer luck. There are rats hiding inside the kingdom. Everything suddenly clicks into place, including why the Empire wanted to meet with her in the first place. Our hero panics, wondering if he accidentally revealed something he was not supposed to. Realizing she cannot handle the upcoming negotiations alone, Revi suddenly asks him for a favor. She wants him to accompany her on her visit to the Empire, where she wants him to speak directly with the hero. The story then shifts to a portal as our hero makes his way to the other side. Staring at the scene in front of him, he is amazed that this is the Ashwa Empire. The sound of gagging catches him by surprise, so he looks back and asks if the redhead is doing okay. Lagnus explains that she hasn't gone through a gate in quite some time, so it made her sick. However, as soon as she sees the town around her, she forgets all about it and gazes in awe. Seeing the peaceful surroundings, it is hard to believe they are at war with the demons. Looking back at the 4 servants accompanying them, our hero asks if it is really alright to bring so few people. She explains that she is only here to discuss matters with the Marquis, so bringing an army would be way over the line. Just then, a voice calls out that they have been expecting Lady Lagnus. A man dressed in noble clothes introduces himself as Marquis Ven and welcomes them. Revi also introduces herself and starts buttering him up for coming all the way here to greet her. The man then looks at Eldomia with suspicion, but she explains that he is her guard. He narrows his eyes at our boy, who can only smile nervously in return. Ven brushes the matter aside and states that he has prepared a carriage to take them the rest of the way. Meanwhile, our hero eyes the creepy man and wonders what they meant by greeting the hero. Going back a few moments, Eldomia and Revi were discussing how the Empire didn't call her here just to talk about the incident. They told her to meet the hero and help train him for 7 days. That catches our boy by surprise, and even she doesn't know why. Guessing it might have something to do with magic utilization. He starts ranting that these people are extremely sus for inviting her all the way here just to meet the hero. Just then, realization hits him as he asks her to confirm something. In the kingdom's current state, hanging on by a thread, the Empire wanted to invite her just to show off their hero. Revi confirms his suspicion that the kingdom is indeed being pressured not to defy the Empire, whose trump card can supposedly defeat the demons. Our boy calls them a pretty nasty bunch, but the redhead explains that politics are simply like this. He figures the Empire is already thinking about how to profit once the demon war ends, and they may even try to take over the kingdom. Coming back to the present, our hero reflects on her words. Just then, the carriage suddenly stops as the driver announces that they have arrived at Ilias Academy. Revi is supposed to attend a few classes here as a temporary student. Walking inside, our boy looks around in awe at the luxurious academy where the hero studies. The redhead's eyes suddenly light up as she runs ahead to greet her master. The old man remarks that it has been quite some time and wonders if he should call her Marky Lagnus from now on. She then introduces her master to Eldomia, the man who taught her magic when she was young. The old man is the exclusive mage of their kingdom, but also works at this academy as a professor. He introduces himself as Lagnel Vandas. Our boy also introduces himself but is surprised that this bodybuilder of a man is actually a mage instead of a warrior. Vandas says he is finally glad to meet Eldomia, and states that he has really good eyes. Our hero returns the compliment by saying the old man is built like an ox for a mage. However, the master simply laughs it off, saying that a sound body leads to a sound mind. He reassures them that he already knows the situation and will support them however he can. A few moments later, all the students gather in the hall, but the assistant instructor announces that the hero still hasn't arrived. That makes the old man visibly irritated that the hero isn't taking something this important seriously. The other students also seem annoyed by the hero, which leaves our boy confused. He wonders if the atmosphere around the hero should be this hostile. Just then, the hero calls out, apologizing for being late. With his arms around two certified baddies, he walks in like he owns the place and even announces his own arrival. Eldomia is completely flabbergasted that someone like this is the hero. Just then, the hero's eyes land on Rivi, and he says he would have arrived earlier if he knew another baddie was waiting for him here. Walking up to her, he asks if she is supposed to be his practice partner. While she tries to formally introduce herself, the hero cuts her off, saying she is really beautiful and wants to hang out after class. Placing a hand on her shoulder, he tells her that he knows a great place to chill and that she should totally come. Just then, our boy steps in and grabs the hero's hand. He apologizes for interrupting the moment, but then straight up asks if the upstart hero has some sort of death wish that he can help fulfill. Everyone is completely flabbergasted by the scene and wonders where the hell the Marquesas guard got the audacity from. The hero suddenly gets serious and asks Eldomia who he thinks he is talking to. However, in the next moment, the man's mood completely changes as he becomes genuinely happy to meet someone with guts. That completely catches our boy by surprise. But the hero doesn't let up and asks Lagnus who this guy is. He is amazed that the Atishal kingdom actually has someone this brave while everyone else simply quakes in their boots. Our boy cuts him off and tells the hero to show some respect to the Marquesas. Just then, the old man steps in and tells the two to knock it off. Leaning closer, he tells Eldomia to cool down because everyone is watching. He then scolds the hero as well for forgetting his manners, but the cocky brat just pretends to listen. Our boy stares daggers at him but remains silent. The assistant instructor from before then speaks up and announces that Lady Lagnus is here to support the hero in his training. She will stay for 7 days and hopes everyone treats her well. The redhead then introduces herself in front of everyone. However, everyone immediately starts gossiping that she is from the family that got wiped out by the demons. Her mood instantly drops after hearing the nasty remarks, but she still says nothing. Vandes then asks the assistant instructor to prepare the practical session, who immediately begins activating the magic for the simulated battlefield. A giant pillar starts rising into the sky as a massive glowing ring forms above it. After a moment, the pillar sinks back into the ground. Our boy gets confused and asks what that ring is. The assistant instructor explains that it is the Empire's advanced technology, which basically creates a virtual reality system for realistic battles. Eldomia is still confused, so the glasses guy says it is better to show than explain. The old man standing inside the ring tells the two students to prepare for battle as he officially starts the match. Out of nowhere, magical weapons appear in the students' hands, catching our boy by surprise. As soon as the match begins, the swordsman rushes in. However, the mage girl is ready as she fires off a light magic spell. The swordsman barely manages to dodge it before clashing his weapon against her staff. The two keep going back and forth, making our boy worry that they are actually trying to kill each other, because this definitely doesn't look like a mock battle. The swordsman's foot suddenly slips, causing him to lose his balance, though he barely keeps himself from falling. The mage girl doesn't let up as she charges another light spell, and fires it point blank at his face. Eldomia is horrified, thinking that the student just died, but the assistant instructor tells him to keep watching. The student's body automatically regenerates as if nothing happened, and the male student immediately starts whining that he lost. Vandes declares the mage girl the winner, while our boy is still confused about what is going on. The glasses guy explains that everything is merely an illusion created by the red ring. The device alters the surroundings using hallucination and light magic. It can also read a person's mana and will, allowing it to project whatever is in their mind onto the battlefield as an illusion. The spell can create weapons, magic, wounds, and can even imitate a person's unique skill. Because of that, students can gain battle experience equal to a real fight without facing any actual danger. Eldomia is amazed that the Empire has advanced this far, and realizes that their own kingdom is far behind. The assistant instructor then suggests that Lady Lagnus should try it as well, but the old man calls it off, saying she must be tired from the journey. The glasses guy starts stuttering that Lord Vend personally ordered this, which confuses the old man. He looks directly toward the tower where the Marquise is actually standing. Just then, a voice asks where he was. A mysterious white-haired lady walks in and asks who Lady Lagnus' opponent is. He isn't sure yet, but says he instructed the assistant to have her fight Athulia. The white-haired lady agrees that since Lagnus is weak, the hero doesn't need to interfere. She wants to show the redhead exactly where she stands in terms of status. The old man tells the assistant instructor that he will handle the matter himself. However, Lagnus suddenly stands up and says that she wants to fight. He tells her that she doesn't have to, but she cuts him off. She confidently says that she is his disciple, so there is nothing to worry about, which makes him smile. The glasses guy sighs in relief before calling for Lady Athulia to come to the stage. The blonde girl asks the hero if she needs to hold back, but he tells her just to have fun since the only person he is interested in is our boy. Eldomia seems tense about the situation and asks if she is really sure about her decision. However, she says she already knew this would happen, so she plans to face every challenge head-on. The instructor then announces that the mock battle is about to begin and tells them to get ready. The blonde and Lagnus both summon their staffs as they face each other. Meanwhile, Eldomia wonders what the hell the redhead is thinking since she hasn't trained at all. That greatly amuses the old man, who asks if Lagnus has been acting like a damsel in distress this whole time. That catches our boy by surprise, but the teacher tells him to just wait and see. As soon as the assistant instructor starts the match, the blonde immediately springs into action. She acts all tough, asking whether Lagnus is really the Marquise of the Atizial Kingdom, and promises to finish this quickly. Athulia then fires a blast of light magic straight at her, yet the redhead doesn't look fazed in the slightest. Our hero nearly has a heart attack and yells at her to dodge. However, all that worry is for nothing as she simply summons a shield and deflects the attack. This completely catches everyone by surprise, including Vendi. The mysterious white-haired lady is shocked as well, wondering if she just cast magic without an incantation. Athulia keeps acting confident, saying that if she is a Marquise, she should at least be capable of this much. The blonde then gets serious and declares that she isn't holding back anymore. With that, she summons a giant magic circle in the sky and unleashes a massive triple light magic attack. Lagnus immediately reacts, dodging the first strike while blocking the second with another perfectly placed shield. However, the blonde still isn't finished as she raises her hand into the air and tells the Marquise to say her goodbyes. A massive portal opens overhead while a gigantic spear slowly forces its way through. Athulia activates her Imperial Arts technique and launches the enormous spear directly at her. At that moment, Lagnus' eyes turn blank as she calmly begins casting her own magic. Pointing her staff forward, she summons the Shield of Atizial. A massive armored figure appears out of thin air, blocking the incoming spear with an enormous shield. Lagnus immediately snaps out of his boredom, and even Eldomia is stunned, wondering what the hell that thing even is. The old man starts getting emotional, saying that the Shield of Atizial is truly an incredible technique. He explains that for centuries, House Revian has been famous for its powerful defensive magic. They stood on the front lines, protecting the kingdom from countless invasions. Because of those achievements, the royal family granted them the title of Margrave along with the nickname, Shield of Atizial. Around 10 years ago, the previous Margrave invited the old man to his estate as a teacher. Out of everyone, Lagnus possessed the greatest talent and potential, making him believe that the future of House Revian was in safe hands. However, Revian's territory was eventually overrun by the demon army, and the Margrave ultimately fell. When the old man heard the news, he was completely devastated because he was powerless to do anything. But now, seeing Lagnus return and inherit her father's place, he can't help but feel she has grown into a remarkable young woman and is just like her father. Eldomia falls into thought and recalls the battle he fought atop the Wyvern. He finally realizes that he is not the only person striving to become stronger for the sake of his goals. Just then, the giant guardian completely deflects the spear away, and Lagnus orders it to counterattack. The projection raises its sword high while Athulia can only stand there and watch. The giant warrior then brings its sword crashing down on her, sending a massive cloud of dust into the air. The assistant instructor announces that the match is over, and Lagnus finally lets out a sigh of relief. Meanwhile, Athulia simply stares up at the sky, realizing she has lost. The other students can't believe what they just witnessed and conclude that the Marquise is truly amazing. The mysterious white-haired girl grows salty, saying that this is exactly why the blonde will never become more than the 4th imperial princess. She then demands that Marquis Vade explain what just happened since she was told Lagnus didn't possess such power. Even Vade has no answer, and figures it might be the secret magic of the Atizhal kingdom that once rivaled the empire. However, the white-haired girl dismisses it as nothing more than a fairy tale. On the inside, she keeps gaslighting herself that the empire stands above everyone else. Just then, she has a big brain moment and orders that the Marquise should fight the hero next instead. Back on the battlefield, the old man and Eldamia cheer for her while Athulia keeps sulking over the loss like a little baby. The hero simply laughs, calling it an amazing defeat, and admits that the Marquise is more than just a pretty face. The purple-haired elf beside him tells him to get serious, but he brushes it off, saying it was only a mock battle. Just then, an attendant walks over and whispers something into his ear. That completely ticks him off as he starts yelling, catching our boy's attention. The hero then shouts toward the tower, demanding that the person come out right now. However, to his surprise, it is only the Marquise. Sieg tells him that he has no interest in fighting Lagnus at all. Eldamia gets confused by what is happening and asks what the problem is now. Vade tries to gaslight him, saying the hero surely saw the redhead's incredible magic and must be itching to fight someone strong. However, Sieg replies that the spell definitely looked impressive, but there is nothing more to it. The magic was huge and consumed a ridiculous amount of mana. It was mostly for show, and its massive size made it way too slow. He explains that the blonde girl here lost because she got overwhelmed by the spell's size and never found a chance to counterattack. However, that will not happen with him. The hero then asks Lagnus, who absent-mindedly agrees with whatever he says and even apologizes for not being strong enough. Sieg brushes that aside and instead declares that if he is going to fight, then it has to be Lagnus' guard. Vade announces that if the redhead agrees, then there is no issue with fighting her appointed champion. The hero then calls out to our boy, asking if he plans to finish what they started earlier. Eldamia smiles and says the Empire really is not backing down now, to which Lagnus agrees. She continues that despite acting so friendly, Vade is the biggest snake of them all and genuinely wants to crush the kingdom. The redhead then asks our boy what he wants to do, but he is already taking off his coat. Throwing it over his shoulder, he acts all edgy, saying that nobody can handle an angry Eldamia. He accepts the hero's duel, making the guy look more excited than ever. The hero then turns all creepy, sticks out his tongue, and says he cannot wait. The Marquis tells the white-haired girl that things are going as she planned. She brushes it off, saying dealing with that idiot is no big deal. He was already interested in the guard, so he definitely was not going to let this chance slip away. Vade then asks if she is sure there is any benefit in making the hero fight a mere guard, but she admits she does not know. She simply decided to play along since it was the hero himself who wanted the smoke. Looking at the giant magic ring, she explains that it is designed to absorb the damage dealt, though it is not absolute. If someone takes too much damage, they can still get seriously hurt. The Marquis figures that the only one strong enough to leave lasting injuries is the hero himself. She agrees and asks Vade if he remembers what happened to the vice commander who challenged Sieg. Ever since then, nobody has wanted to throw hands with the hero. The Marquis still doubts that Sieg will go all out against a mere guard, but she seems certain since the guy is completely fired up. Breaking into a creepy smile, she adds that Eldamia will be lucky if he only loses one limb. Her real goal is to crush Lagnus' spirit through a humiliating defeat. She mocks our boy, saying he probably just wanted to impress his master, but instead, he is about to get flattened like an ant. As the two opponents prepare to face each other, the old man falls deep into thought. He realizes that the scheme could not be more obvious, yet he is certain that things will not play out the way they expect. He then announces that the mock battle is about to begin and tells them both to summon their weapons. Recalling Lagnus' earlier words, Eldamia imagines the weapon he wants and slowly closes his hand. Sure enough, the sword appears in his grip, making him smile. He then looks ahead and freezes after seeing the hero summon a giant sword. Our boy forces out a nervous smile, figuring that this guy must seriously be a lunatic. Meanwhile, the hero stares at him like he is the last piece of meat left on the grill. Just as the old man officially starts the fight, the hero suddenly vanishes from his Eldomia's eyes go wide as the giant sword appears right in front of him. He barely manages to block the attack. Sieg starts rambling that his instincts were right all along and that our boy really is strong as hell. As the two continue clashing blades, he keeps ranting that it has been way too long since he last met someone capable of blocking his attacks. He piles on even more pressure, telling Eldomia to keep on going and make this fight even more entertaining. Our boy is having a rough time and realizes these are far from ordinary sword techniques. Sieg swings his giant blade around like an absolute maniac. Yet despite all that chaos, Eldomia still cannot find even a single opening to counterattack. Sieg keeps pressing forward, forcing our hero further and further back. The Marquis states the obvious that the hero is winning, but the white-haired lady brushes it off, saying he should be, given all the money they spend on him. Even so, she still feels uneasy because something about this fight does not seem right. Even though the guard has been on the defensive the whole time, he is still managing to block and parry every single one of the hero's attacks. That makes her curious about who our boy really is. Lagnus is worried too as she calls out to him, but all she can do is keep watching. The two fighters rush in once again and clash their blades. Just then, the hero shifts his grip upward, making Eldomia believe the next attack is coming from above. However, just as he prepares to parry it and launch a counter-attack, the hero grins and suddenly stomps his foot into the ground. Our boy's eyes widen as the hero instantly changes his stance. Eldomia barely manages to raise his sword to block before getting kicked straight in the gut and sent flying backward. Everyone is shocked, and the white-haired lady starts celebrating, convinced that it is finally over. Seeing our boy lying motionless on the ground, Sieg asks if he finally kicked the bucket and apologizes for getting a little too excited earlier. The old man figures that this has to be the end and begins calling the match. At that moment, Lagnus stops him and declares that the fight is not over yet. That catches Vandas by surprise, but she explains that the Eldomia she knows would never go down that easily. Sure enough, our boy gets back on his feet as if nothing even happened. Sieg is amazed that someone can take such a heavy hit from him and still stand back up, giving him credit where it is due. Our boy thanks him for the compliment and starts stretching his body. The white-haired lady gets irritated and wonders why the hero is not finishing him off already. Sieg offers him a way out, saying he has already survived longer than expected. Even so, the hero admits he is disappointed. After all that confidence, our boy has done nothing but defend, so he has already started losing interest. Eldomia smiles and says he is finally done warming up. Summoning his sword once again, he says that he now has a pretty good idea of what the hero is capable of, so now it is his turn. That completely confuses Sieg, who thinks Eldomia has done nothing but defend this entire time and wonders if he is just trying to look cool in front of his master. Just as he decides our boy is all talk, Eldomia suddenly vanishes into thin air and appears right behind him. That completely catches the hero off guard, though he still manages to block the strike. Sieg immediately tries to counterattack, but our boy slips past the blade and starts zooming around the arena again. The hero cannot help but smile, wondering if he has been hiding this kind of speed all along. Our boy appears behind Sieg once more, but this time the hero only grins. He says the plan is way too obvious as he swings his sword backward. However, Eldomia simply parries the massive blade aside like it weighs nothing before charging straight in with his fist raised. Sieg suddenly realizes that his opponent never intended to rely on his sword at all. Eldomia then delivers the cleanest knuckle sandwich imaginable straight to the hero's face, sending him flying backward. The old man, Lagnus, and every single spectator are left completely speechless. Even the Marquis and the white-haired lady cannot believe what they just witnessed. The hero slowly gets back to his feet, admitting that our boy was not all talk after all. On the inside, he is genuinely caught off guard that someone actually managed to read and predict the movements of the hero himself. Smiling as though nothing happened, he announces that it has been quite a while since anyone managed to push him this far. He takes back everything he said about Eldomia before summoning another greatsword into his free hand. Brandishing both massive blades as if they weigh absolutely nothing, the hero declares that out of every opponent he has ever fought, Eldomia is by far the most interesting one yet.